And we are live. I'm Josh Engelman. Everybody, you can follow me at Josh Engelman on the Twitters. I will never use the term X. That would be insane. We got the NFL ahead of us, folks. 4 straight hours of NFL coverage for week 9. I can't believe we've been doing this this is now the 9th week of this show. I'm going to be breaking it down on the pick'em side for the first half hour. We're not going anywhere until 1 p.m. If you've never been here before and you don't know the drill, 4 straight hours on this stream of NFL coverage. If you have been here, either way, if you've never been here, if you have been here, there's only one thing you should be doing at this moment, right now. That's hitting the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Lots of value out there on the pick'em sites. A little bit more thin on the NFL side. If you're an EPL or NBA person, lots of available pick'em value on Prize Picks, on Better. I'm seeing some value on Dabble. There's a little bit of value on Sleeper, actually on Jared Goff at this moment. So we're going to have a lot to break down. It's not all going to be NFL to fill out some of these plays, but we're going to be able to build some pretty high-level positive EV plays at some of the pick'em sites. It should be a great day. Lots of good football. I get to watch my Commanders beat the Giants. That'll be a good time. You get Dolphins, Bills. Maybe that's a little bit better now. Probably not. Who knows? Bucks, Chiefs tonight. Very different vibe to that one. Bucks are walking wounded. Lions, Packers is going to be exceptional. Not too many other fun games. Now that I look at this schedule, though, a lot of gross, if we're being honest. But it's going to be fun to break it down. I see the message from Kickstart in our YouTube chat, and I appreciate it, Kickstart. I'm glad you're very aware of this. Same position as last week, Josh. Theo Johnson under 17.5 rushing yards is now down to 15.5. Javonte Williams over in receiving yards went from 16.5 to 20.5. The reason that Kickstart is mentioning those two lines is because on Odds Shopper Live, this is a betting show on our Odds Shopper YouTube channel. I go live Monday through Friday at noon, and we break down whatever we can find on sort of like this. We break down the pick'em sites. We break down the sports books as well. We built a Prize Picks card this week. I think that was on Friday. It could have been Thursday. Not that it matters. We've already locked in 4 legs. We've already got 4 dubs. We're waiting on 2 more legs. We had this same experience last week. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? Either way, we needed like Breece Hall and Drake London. We lost them both. But now we're sitting on 4-0 again. We still need another 2 NFL plays today during the 1 o'clock games. The lines moved in our direction, so we were on the right side. We're going to be able to try to hunt that down. If we lock in 1, we might be able to live bet, lock in a bunch of value. If we can get to 5-0, the exponential payout of 25x on Prize Picks, we could hedge it a little bit. We could positively hedge it. We can come away with a lot of money if we could lock in one of those legs kind of early. Obviously, the leg that we could lock in is either Theo Johnson playing and having to be removed from the game, which I'm not cheering for, or Javonte Williams just simply getting 16.5 receiving yards immediately. That will line us up to be able to bet a little bit on the Theo Johnson over. Chat letting me know Einsteinium and Echo. Zach Moss is going to be out for today. And then Humboldt. I'm still stuck on Josh saying he was drinking a warm chocolate chip cookie a while back. My mind can't wrap around it. Humboldt, very easy. It's very easy. Coffee, cookie dough, sugar-free cookie dough creamer. Sorry, sugar-free cookie dough syrup. Chobani makes cookie dough creamer. You mix all those things together, and it is a delectable melted cookie-style treat. But people didn't come here for coffee recipes. They came here for pick'em plays. And that's going to be the first thing we're going to look at. My recommendation, as usual, is to immediately go to the portfolio EV tool on OddsShopper. Jordan's got it pulled up at this moment. And then I'm going to go to the parlay builder. Well, the pick'em optimizer, I guess. Same thing. Parlay builder on the sports books, pick'em optimizer on the pick'em sites. If we just take the 6 best plays that exist on Prize Picks at this moment, that's a what I have in front of me, 16% EV card. I got to pin Jordan's window so I can see him a little bit better. Boom, got it. Now, the problem a little bit for Prize Picks is that the best available play is Mazraoui on Man U under 0.5 shots. And we are going to end up having to use that because that individual play is going to create a lot of additional value to us in ways that you can't really find everywhere. So I'm going to use that Mazraoui play first, and then I'm going to start looking at a little bit more of these NFL plays. So we've got Derrick Henry looking like a decent play. I'm going to refresh these in front of me right now. Oh, the Derrick Henry line went away already. So it's going to be Mazraoui, Rico Dowdle, under 17.5 receiving yards. Daniel Jones, longest rush, over 10.5 yards. Mason Rudolph, over 18.5 completions. Tony Pollard over in receiving yards. Those 5 picks get us to around 7% EV. And then final play to get it to a 6-pick card is going to be Saquon under 92.5 rushing yards. 9% EV. Jordan's got it on the screen right now. That's a pretty nice card because the NFL plays themselves aren't overwhelmingly huge EV. Rico Dowdle only gets to 0.7. But to lock in the value of Mazraoui, I'm willing to take one EPL play in this NFL card just to make life a little bit easier. So I'm dropping immediately 40 bones down onto that card, 25x if you go 6-0. That's a cool $1,000 if we end up printing. Easiest thing you could do for today is to use the portfolio EV tool to build out sportsbook cards and pick'em cards. So I just dropped the Prize Picks card into chat right now. If you guys want to tail that card, all you have to do is click that link. It's very easy. It takes basically no time to get onto OddsShopper, use the portfolio EV tool, and get your card in. It can happen in like 30 seconds. If you're willing to just take it on the surface, which you should be using this tool. We have all of the data tracked. It's awesome. You can click the generate button, immediately get 6 picks, click the button that takes you right to Prize Picks. It loads your card. You can do this all in 30 seconds. It's that quick. That's how good this tool is right now. No thanks on unders for Saquon. That's a good way to put yourself in a bad position. Unders, unders, unders. We love them. The fact that we got 3 overs in this scenario is pretty rare, actually. It's very rare. So we got a Prize Picks card in. Easy. Let's take a look at Underdog right now. Now, Underdog is good because they pretty regularly have some bonuses you can take advantage of. Today, for example, there's a 50% profit boost for soccer. I don't know how much that's going to matter. It doesn't appear that there's a ton of value out there anyway. But if you're playing on Underdog, I'm assuming everybody has that boost. If you can use it, do it. Unfortunately, they don't have any boosts today on the NFL side. And as we go to Underdog, using the portfolio EV tool, the top 5 plays available on Underdog right now, like if you just click the generate button, those 5 plays have a negative 3% EV. I can't recommend anything on Underdog in this moment. Unless you can steal boosts, I don't see it. I just don't see it. Flex play, it's -1. Power play, it's -3. Underdog just doesn't have the value that we're looking for. And honestly, that's sort of been the case for the past few weeks. Underdog has either gotten sharper or they're putting enough juice on both sides that none of the lines look all that appealing. I haven't been dealing in a ton of value across, like I said, OddsShopper Live, Monday through Friday at noon. We're doing this same exact process every day for what's available. It's usually more on the NBA side. We have not been able to find a ton of Underdog value lately. So We're going to move it on to sleeper. And this is going to be a place where we really do have a little bit of value. It's not massive, but we do have it. And it's NFL specific. So I'm going to pull up sleeper. I have to do it on my phone since they don't have a web app. Now, they have some discounted plays. Jahmyr Gibbs has a 22% off discount. You can go over under 51.5 rushing yards instead of the 65.5 line that's there. So if you wanted to swap out Ivan Pace, or actually in this case, you'd want to swap out Daniel Jones, who would be the most negative play. Jordan, go ahead and hit that generate button for sleeper. I want to make sure that we have the same card on here. Is that Goff, Booty, Andrews, Jones, and Pace? Perfect. Okay. So yeah, if you want to drop that Daniel Jones play and use that free square, that would be a really nice way to do this. I'm going to take the Daniel Jones play as well. Actually, you know what? I'm also going to take the free square. Can do up to $10 using that Jahmyr Gibbs free square. So we're going to go more than 51.5 rushing yards on Jahmyr Gibbs. And then we're going to build out the rest of these NFL cards. So that's going to be Jared Goff. That's the one that's carrying the most weight in this card. This is the one you don't want to get rid of. Under 233 passing yards. After Goff, we're getting the booty man. Everybody loves a good booty. Although I think we've bet that guy 3 straight weeks and got it wrong. So there's also that. Mark Andrews goes in. Under 35.5 receiving yards. We haven't gotten any really crazy payouts, unfortunately. And then we're going to take Ivan Pace over 8.5 tackles and assists, because obviously I have a big lean on that one. All right. So that's 4. Gibbs, Booty, Andrews, Pace. Somehow I left Goff out, even though it was the first one I did, because apparently I'm dumb. All right. 5-pick card. Using the Jahmyr Gibbs discounted play, whatever you want to call it. So it's more on Gibbs and then under on Booty, Andrews, Pace, and Goff. You flex that. You get 8.6x on your card if you go 5-0, and just shy of 2x if you go 4-1. So let's lock that in. It's great value there because we're getting 3% with a negative EV Daniel Jones play. And we're taking out a negative EV Daniel Jones play and replacing that with an incredibly positive EV boosted play. Big Gritter saying it in chat right now, which I like. He said Gibbs is currently 67.5 on Prize Picks. So yeah, we're getting what, 15, 16 additional yards? That's a lot of value right there. That's a lot of value. All right, we're at the midway point of my version of this show. We got a lot more to talk about, though, for today. I'm going to start it off by letting you guys know what today's schedule is. I'm live now. You're watching. Thank you. Hit the like button. Coming up after this, 9:30. So in about 15 minutes, Greg will be popping on here. He's going to do the lineup building version of this show. If you guys aren't watching that, you're missing out. Greg's going to pull up, well, Jordan's going to pull up the single lineup simulator, and Greg is going to build out lineups with you guys for a half hour. Look at our single lineup tool. Check out the ROIs of the lineups that you can build. Check out cash rates and win rates. Really dig in individually to some of these plays. Then you get the real breakdown. Laffy and Ben at 10 a.m. NFL Deeper Dive. They go game by game. They will hit every single game on the slate for today and break it down in detail. If you guys have thoughts on any individual games, you want to be there at 10 o'clock because those guys are going to break that down for 90 minutes. We don't stop there. 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, NFL Live Before Lock. Eric, Matt Gajeski, they'll go from 11:30 until 1, breaking down the final injury reports that come in, taking some questions through that final hour, and breaking everything down until we get to lock, and we all transition over to Red Zone or to the one individual game of your choice. But Red Zone is the answer. We don't stop there for content, though, today. Tonight, 7:30, NFL Live Before Lock for Sunday Night Football. You get Emac and Bellman breaking down the night game. We're jam-packed for content today. covering the NFL up and down the line, including 4 hours to start off the day. The best thing that you can do, though, while you're watching all of this content, is take advantage of the deal that you see on the top of the screen right now, and likely the whole screen shortly, which is right now. That's going to be the MILL promo code, MILL. It's going to get you 30% off any NFL package that we have. That's weekly or monthly, whichever one you think fits you best. Grab that one and get 30% off. Do you know why we're doing that? You can see it on the screen now. I don't want to bury it because this time last week, Rick12324, with that lovely Stokastic avatar attached to his name, was sitting down and building out some lineups and getting himself ready for the day. 6 hours after lock, this man was sweating $1 million. And when we finally got to the final play of the final game, Rick picked up a milli win using that Stokastic avatar and using our tools. That's why we're running this promo. We want to reward you guys for the success that Rick had last week by giving you guys 30% off any package. Laffy actually recorded a video with Rick earlier this week. You guys can check that out on our YouTube channel. He talks about how he uses the tools, some of the things that he was looking at last Sunday in preparation for building out that lineup. He goes through everything. It's a fantastic watch. I couldn't be happier to see somebody pick up a milli using the Stokastic avatar. That could be you. You're going to win free account. I mean, obviously, if you win the milli, you're going to have plenty of money to subscribe at Stokastic, but we don't even want you to do that. We're just going to give you a freebie for a while. So it's pretty nice. But you guys can have that same tool set. You could use the same things that Rick used a week ago to win that milli. So link in chat or the description, use the promo code MILL and get 30% off any package on the NFL side, weekly or monthly. Mixed Stars Online says, I just bought the NFL package, but forgot to use the code. Assuming that was like, yesterday or today or 2 days ago, send an email into support. They could probably get you squared away there. Jake Nunley says, no NBA content today. You don't want to talk about Grand Theft Alvarado. Nah, no NFL or no NBA talk today. 3 games on an NFL Sunday. The NBA is on a bit of a break. Mixed Stars 10 minutes ago. News God is in chat right now. News God, can you help this Mixed Stars Online gentleman out? Bought the NFL package, but forgot to put a code in. We could probably get that straightened away. I hope. All right, let's take a look and see if we've got any more value. The next place that we are going to be going is to Better. And Better certainly has value. We're going to have to use some NBA, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but it's going to be a little less NFL-centric. You can get to a 12% card on Better if you use the NBA plays. If we go NFL only, we're going to have some trouble. To the point where I don't know if we're going to build this card on this show. Yeah, the 5 best NFL plays are negative 5%. I wonder what it takes to offset that. Wow, that's nuts. So if you take the 5 best NFL plays, this is really staggering, and it shows you just how much one individual play can make a difference. So Jordan has it in here right now. Negative 5% EV. Those are the 5 best just NFL plays you can get on Better. If you remove Zach Charbonnet as the 5th pick and just simply replace that with the number 1 play available, which is Jalen Duren under 10.5 points, you go from negative 13% EV to 0. If you remove the Lamar Jackson play and then put in Daniel Gafford, the 2nd best NBA play, we've now replaced 2 picks and gone from negative 13% EV to positive 4. So we might not be dipping our toe in the water of all NFL plays, but Hawk over 3.5 receptions, Daniel Jones again over 10.5 rushing yards in his longest rush, and then Mason Rudolph again over 18.5 completions, paired with those extra 2 NBA plays, can get you to a positive payout on Better now. That's a lot better, if you ask me. See what I did there? All right, final spot that we're going to look at. We're heading to DraftKings. We're going to pick 6. DraftKings pick six for an NFL Sunday. We are not exactly drowning in value. And I'm a little surprised by that. As I look at the NFL right now, there's not an overwhelming amount of plays that are pointing me to a ton of value on pick six. Jake Ferguson has a 58% chance to go under 5.5 receptions. That right there is the number one play that you can find on pick six. But there's not much else after that. That's kind of unappealing, if you're asking me. It's bleak because you don't want to go too far down that win rate. 57% for Alexander Madison, 56 for Foster Moreau, and then you're already down in the 55s. Like if you want to go to the Ferguson, Madison, Moreau trio as your play on pick six, it's not the worst. I mean, we have the payout in and around just north of $50 on a $10 wager. So you're getting pretty good value on the pick six side, but you're kind of running out of like super interesting plays after that. I was anticipating a lot more value. Keenan Allen is out there in the 4:00 games at under 4.5 receptions. That doesn't help us as much for the 1:00 games, but like that Jake Ferguson play, for example, the number one play, that Jake Ferguson under 5.5 receptions in our odds shopper portfolio EV tool shows up as a negative 1.7% EV. Yeah, Josh Gillum, pick six stinks until you can combine sports. It's tough, man. They definitely did not improve this product. At least not to me. But yeah, that Jake Ferguson play, while it's 58% X win, it's still a negative EV play. You really do have to pair it up, but even if you're going to the 4:00 games, that Keenan Allen play I mentioned, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the negative 1.3, negative 2.4. We're not dealing with as much value this morning as I was expecting. The places that you could really find the value, if you play on pick'em sites, if you have the ability to get to multiple different pick'em sites, Prize Picks is the spot that has the most value for you today. Better is probably second. I think that most things that get built on Underdog are going to be not exactly ultra positive plays. And then I don't think that we're grabbing a lot out of pick six either. It's really thin on that side. One last thing that I want to touch on before I turn this one over to Greg while he builds out some lineups. On the sportsbook side too, whether you're using pick'em sites or sportsbooks, the most important thing that you guys can do today, especially if you're able to use this portfolio EV tool, the most important thing you'll do, go to each one of those sites, find out what free squares they're using, bonuses that they're using, profit boosts. Like on FanDuel, if you get a token so that like a risk-free bet, you should hit all of them. That should be the first thing that you're sitting down to do, honestly, every day, but in particular on a day like today. Work your way through all of the places that they're trying to give you additional money. If you can get boosts and build out a card, do that. If you can get some free plays and free squares, start there, because those are going to be the most profitable opportunities that you'll be able to find. They'll be able to take you from iffy plays to boosted and better, and it doesn't take a lot. Work your way through all of those. FanDuel is going to have them. DraftKings is going to have them. Bet365 is going to have them. I'm sure some of the other sports books have them. We know that we have free squares. We use that discounted play on Better. We have all of these things around today to make your day a little bit easier. If you're combining all of those free squares and bonuses with something like the portfolio EV tool, I can basically promise that you are going to be a more profitable person than you were if you weren't doing it that way. The EV tool is providing a ton of value. We have all the data tracked on the back end that you can go to. We have all of the results, all of the recommendations that we've had. You can see it, and they've been absolutely crushing. The NBA has been insane. You can use all of that track data to have the confidence to put those cards in, and you can use all of the bonuses because they are giving you essentially discounts. They are bringing down the amount of rake that you're paying to all of these sites with these free squares. That's the easiest way to bring your costs of playing down. And that's my recommendation to everybody that is here right now. I know you guys are looking for DFS takes. I know you guys want to know what you should be doing on DraftKings and FanDuel. And right now, you're in luck. I'm done talking about pick'em sites. I hope you guys enjoyed this past half hour. I want you to hit the like button right now. There's 1,200 people in here, 160 likes. Let's get up over 250 as we turn this one over to Greg. He's about to build some lineups for you. I know you're going to love it. Take advantage of it all right now. You're going to see every single tool that we have at Stokastic over the next 4 hours. If that doesn't make you interested in joining, I really don't know what will. We're already showing you people win the milli when they're hanging out here. Good luck, everybody. Say hi to Greg when he gets in the door. Good. Win some money. Enjoy your Sunday. And I hope you guys are feeling well rested off of that extra hour of sleep last night. Good luck, everybody. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, you know what's funny though is, oh good, yeah. So I thought I had like unlimited time this morning because I had the extra hour. So I was working out, and all of a sudden, look at my clock. It was like, oh shit, I have to be in Zoom in like 5 minutes. What is happening, everybody, and welcome to the big NFL show, leading you guys up until lock. I'm going to be on building lineups with you using the single lineup sim here at Stokastic for the next 30 minutes. Then we're going to have the deep dive with Ben Rasa and Lofty, and then live before lock after that with Matt Kajeski and Eric Lindquist. They're going to give you any of the late breaking news, projection updates, ownership updates, what their exposure looking like. And the only thing I ask of you guys right now, simply like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, free content, help support us. And what Jordan and I are going to do here is we're going to do a little intro of the slate overall, just by looking at some of the top player projections, some of the ownership projections, and then we'll start building lineups for you guys. And if you have any super chats, leave those in YouTube. If you're a Stokastic sub and in our Discord channel, hit me up. I'm on the lookout for any questions you guys have, and I'll be answering any of them. If you want me to look at some of the lineups that you guys have built or any questions about individual lineups, we could certainly look over all of that. But let's start here. Just general overview of the slate. Look at some of the top projected players at each position, some of the chalk to get an idea of where it is the field is expected to go. And beginning at the quarterback position, Jordan. Yeah, if you guys look here at the top overall projected players at QB. And there's a lot of QBs that are projecting well this week. This is the most quarterbacks I can remember on any slate this year that have projected for north of 20 fantasy points. Sometimes it's no QBs, sometimes it's one, maybe it's two, but this week, Lamar Jackson, 23 fantasy points, Josh Allen, over 22, Jaden Daniels, over 22, we got 21.5 for Jalen Hurts, and right around 21 for Joe Burrow as well. So all pay up QBs, these guys are all priced between 75 and 8 grand over on DK, all of them north of 20 fantasy points. So plenty of good QBs to be paying up for. But if you look at the ownership projections, if you'll sort by that column, Jordan, you guys will see that is not where the chalk is. The most popular QBs are some of the cheaper quarterbacks. The only one that we just went over who's kind of close to the top, it's Joe Burrow, who is pulling 6.8% ownership. But the other popular QBs, it's Geno Smith at 12.5%, Dak Prescott at 7.5%. Ultimately, what does this mean? QB ownership, not something to be all that concerned about. I'm sure in your single entry contest or maybe in cash, Geno Smith will be pretty popular, but I mean, beyond that, we only got one QB pulling more than 7.5% ownership. So let's go ahead and look at the running backs next. All right, so now at the running back position, and once again, a couple of running backs projecting over 20 fantasy points. This is a slate that, at least just based on projections, looks like it should be a pretty high scoring one, because we also have value that exists on the slate as well, and some good pay up options at pretty much all the positions. But at running back here, Alvin Kamara, great matchup against the Carolina Panthers. I know we've gotten all these reports about all these injuries Alvin Kamara has, but really the biggest issue with the Alvin Kamara and the Saints in general, it's not been Alvin Kamara's health. It's been the players around him, because he's played through this injury without any issues, but no offensive line support. There's been no passing game, but great matchup against Carolina Panthers. It's going to be difficult to avoid him at $7,800. He is the top projected running back on the slate at 21.6 fantasy points. Behind him, Kyren Williams for 20.81 fantasy points. Not the most efficient running back in the world, but it hasn't mattered at all, because the Rams, it doesn't matter. They're going to give Kyren Williams the ball as many times as they possibly can. He's a pretty safe bet for 20 plus touches each week. It doesn't even matter that he averages 3.5 yards per carry. He gets all the goal line touches. He gets involvement in the passing game. It's just based on volume and a decent matchup here against the Seattle Seahawks. It's going to be enough to have him project pretty well here. Beyond Kamara and Kyren Williams, we've got Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Derrick Henry. They're all just under 20 fantasy points. Then you got Chase Brown as the value option, $5,900. There's no Zach Moss this week. There's no T. Higgins. Chase Brown figures to be involved in the pass game as well as his normal run game involvement, which you'd even see an uptick in the absence of Zach Moss. So Chase Brown, he's your top overall value running back on the slate, and you'll see when we sort by ownership, super chalky this week as well. Then Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard also projecting for just over 18 fantasy points. Let's go to the ownership now, Jordan. And you guys will see ownership at the running back position. Chase Brown, understandably so, leading the way. It's a great matchup against the Raiders. We just mentioned Zach Moss is out. T. Higgins is also out. So this is a really shorthanded Bengals team as far as some of their top skill position players. Chase Brown, 37% ownership at $5,900. He's a good piece of chalk this week, in my opinion. Then you got Alvin Kamara as the top overall projected running back. He is pulling 27.5% ownership. Nobody all that popular beyond that. The only other running backs who are pulling double-digit ownership, you got Kyren Williams, James Conner, Bijan Robinson, DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Walker, and Devon Achane. All these guys are between 10 and 15% owned. Now the wide receivers. Over at the wide receiver position, once again, a couple of good-looking pay-up options. CeeDee Lamb in a great matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. Then you got Jamar Chase in the absence of T. Higgins, drawing extra target share. Both of them projected north of 20 fantasy points. Behind them, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill. They're both right around 18 fantasy points. Tyreek Hill, he was decent last week with Tua back, but didn't exactly break the slate either. He was a guy like you weren't upset if you played Tyreek Hill, but you didn't feel like you missed out if you didn't play him. And now his ownership's come down quite a bit. So I actually like him after he was super chalk last week, had a mediocre outcome, and now the price hasn't really gone up to where it should be on Tyreek Hill, but he's still only 14% owned. Then you got A.J. Brown there at 7% ownership. Sort by the projected ownership now, Jordan. Yeah, and you guys will see at wide receiver, no crazy chalk. Chris Olave, 23.6% owned. Then you got Drake London, CeeDee Lamb, each close to 20%, but just below it. Then Tyreek Hill, Cedric Tillman, Jacoby Myers, they're all right around 15% owned. And one that really stands out here, Cedric Tillman broke the slate last week. Jameis Winston, now a quarterback for the Browns. The passing game looks infinitely better. Cedric Tillman, he was a guy who really, Jameis Winston liked to throw the football. He had over 100 receiving yards, had a couple of touchdowns. He was the popular chalk player, just broke last week's slate. Now, finally, the tight ends. Yeah, and over at tight end, you guys will see not projecting quite as well as the other positions, but relative to other tight end weeks, also pretty decent. We got Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, David Njoku, Evan Ingram, he's going to benefit with the Jaguars being really shorthanded as far as pass catchers go. Christian Kirk, he's out for the season with a broken collarbone. Jake Ferguson, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta. So we've got a handful. What is that? 8 tight ends that are projecting for double-digit fantasy points. That's normally not the case. And then the ownership at tight end, you got Mike Gesicki, who is popular at $3,100. He is the value play who's showing up most frequently in people's lineups. I think he's a really good-looking cash game play. For GPPs also, if you want to punt at tight end, he looks like the top guy to be going to. One thing that we've seen with T. Higgins out this year, it hasn't really been Yoshevis who's been the guy that's drawn extra targets. And we've seen a handful of games that T. Higgins has either been out or banged up. It's been Mike Gesicki who's been the guy who's run more routes downfield, has seen uptick in fantasy production. So he's a great looking value option at $3,100. Then he got right around 10% ownership on Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, and David Njoku. Now, let's start building some lineups, starting with Christian Smith, who left us a super chat here. He wants us to input this lineup. It is a DraftKings one. It's a Kirk Cousins stack. And Kirk Cousins also with Bijan Robinson at running back, as well as Drake London. And yeah, I don't mind Bijan at all in stacks with Kirk Cousins because of some of his involvement in the passing game. So let's plug this lineup in here, Jordan. It is Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson, Tony Pollard, Drake London. We got Xavier Tillman, Ladd McConkey, Mike Gesicki. I assume that is James Cook, and then the Giants defense. James Cook also was in the Millie making winning lineup last week, which we're going to talk about that in a second here as well. Because it was a sub who won the $1 million and had James Cook in that lineup there. And then Giants defense. Yep. You gotta go large field and then run the sim here. First glance, don't see any like massive issues with the lineup or anything like that. It's missing out on some of the really popular pieces, but I don't think that's the end of the world because some of the other options look pretty good. Let's see what the sim ROI is. Yeah, looks solid. 33.9% sim ROI. It got the great lineup designation there. So I think that we are good to go. And yeah, I talked about it right there. James Cook, he was in the Millie making winning lineup last week. One of you guys ended up winning. Not only was it a sub at Stokastic, but it was somebody Bunt Cakes who watches the shows here at Stokastic. And because we had a sub win $1 million last week, who also said he used some of Ben Roz's advice during the deep dive to make some alterations to his lineups in the Sims, and was one of the reasons he got off of some of the chalk plays and mixed in some contrarian options. You guys will see the lineup, or at least the top of it right here on screen. Rick, 12324, won $1 million last week. He's a sub of the site, and because of that, we're running a promo. It is going to be ending tomorrow. If you guys want to sign up for any of the packages on the site, give yourself a chance to win $1 million like Rick did. Sign up with the promo code MIL. Link is down below in the YouTube description box. You're going to get 30% off any NFL package you choose to sign up for, whether it's the max package, the core package, a weekly package, a monthly package, whichever package you think is best for you. Sign up with that promo code MIL and get yourself 30% off. Also, any of the packages you sign up for here at Stokastic do come with access to our Discord channel. So make sure to get into our Discord channel so you could ask questions about really anything, whether it's slate specific advice or just general how to use the tool, strategy, just shoot the shit, sweat. We got it all in the Discord channel. And there's a question right here from Hypnotoad. Hypnotoad wants to know, who is my favorite stack today? And then we'll actually build a lineup around my favorite stack here as I answer this question. It's Joe Burrow. I really do like getting to Joe Burrow stacks because the targets are going to be really concentrated. I even like Joe Burrow triple stacks, which I think is a fun one to make right here. And it's not all that expensive either outside of Jamar Chase. We got Chase Brown in a really good spot. You got Jamar Chase in a spot where he's benefiting from the absence of T. Higgins. You got Mike Gesicki also benefiting from the absence of T. Higgins. And then on top of it all, you got a good matchup against the Raiders, and there's some run backs there that make sense as well. So let's go Joe Burrow, and we're going to make this a triple stack, Jordan. Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, and Mike Gesicki. We're going to plug them all in. All right. Yep. Then Gesicki there at tight end. And now as a run back, the player I like the most overall from the Raiders, it is Jacoby Myers at $5,300. We finally have Jacoby Myers healthy. And now that Devontae Adams is out of the mix in Las Vegas, we should see more steady targets going the way of Jacoby Myers. And now, once again, he also just fits into the overall build of this lineup. And the Browns offense the Bengals offense has been great this year. It's just the defense that's been horrific, and that should benefit Jacoby Myers in what figures to be a high-scoring game. You look at Jacoby Myers, here his last 4 games now, 7 targets, 9 targets, 10 targets, 9 targets. It hasn't led to any like massive fantasy games. There's been some good ones. He had 6 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown, but he hasn't really been priced up considering what his workload has been. And I like him a lot as just a general option on the slate, but then also as a run back in some of these Bengals stacks, which, like I said, Bengals, that's my favorite team to stack on the slate. So now we've got, what is that there, Jordan? About 5,000 left? 5,050. All right, so let's go to defense and just go Cardinals at $2,600. It's just a cheap defense that is against a Bears team where you got Caleb Williams at quarterback, who just, he's going to be inconsistent this year, but you definitely have a team that wants to open up the playbook, allow Caleb Williams to throw. So we've seen some games where Caleb Williams struggles, but he still throws the ball 40 times or so, and they just want to get him that kind of experience. And the benefit for opposing defenses, sack opportunities, turnover opportunities, all that kind of stuff. So let's plug in them for cheap. That was the Cardinals defense at 2,600. Ultimately, though, like I run my stuff through the Sims this morning, I didn't have more than 15% exposure to any defense. So there's not one defense I want to be married to, going to be spread out. But I think it's more fun for the purpose of hand building some lineups. So we go cheap at defense and give ourselves a little bit of extra salary to spend up for skill position players. All right, so we've got a flex, a running back, and a wide receiver spot to fill in. And at running back, at wide receiver. All right, so let's go cheap at wide receiver. Let's just plug in Cedric Tillman as one of the wide receiver spots. He makes a ton of sense for this slate. I do think his ownership's going to end up being more than what it's projected as. We've just seen that time and time again this year. When a player goes off and has a big game and their price doesn't massively adjust the next week, they end up being chalk. So even though we only have Cedric Tillman projected for ownership in the teens, I do really feel strongly he's going to be more popular than that. But either way, good value option. We'll plug him into this lineup. What does that give us left here now, Jordan? Okay, 66. So for one of the running backs, let's go to, let's reduce the ownership a little bit in this lineup. Tony Pollard is sub 7K. He's only also pulling 8% ownership. I'd really like to match him against the New England Patriots. I know last week, Breece Hall, chalk, didn't come through against New England Patriots, but now you got a guy in Tony Pollard who's really having a strong season, who is not going to be chalk in that matchup against the New England Patriots. So I think he's a reasonable, somewhat contrarian running back option. Not that he's like 1 or 2% on, but he's not one of the chalk pieces. And now who fits in? What's just the highest projected player with the salary we have left? All right, so let's go Olave, and then I guess we'll upgrade Tony Pollard at running back, because or else we'd be leaving a lot of salary on the table. So whatever running back projects the best that we can fit in now. Interesting. So we have what, 70? All right, so maybe we have to go a little bit cheaper at defense. Just go to the Cowboys defense instead. It just gives us 100 extra, and then I think we'd be able to fit Kamara in if I remember all the prices correctly. Yeah, Kamara should fit in now, right? Oh, 7,300? All right. Why did I think... All right, so plug in Pollard then. I don't know why I thought we had 7,800 before. All right, so we'd be leaving $500 in salary on the table. Whatever, let's just run it. $500 in salary on the table. Not ideal, but I don't want to spend the entire segment here just building this one lineup. So let's see how this ends up looking. Overall, I still like the core of the lineup. We certainly are going to be able to improve a little bit on the sim ROI had we used all the salary and upgraded some of the spots. But yeah, still 98% sim ROI showed up really good. We would have got it over 100 if we really optimized the lineup and filled in all of the remaining salary. But most importantly, we answered Hypnotoad's question, my favorite stack. And then we're able to kind of show why the core of that stack does end up projecting pretty well. So that's a Joe Burrow stack. That's one of the spots that I definitely like on this slate. But another way you could go and get contrarian in that game as well is you can make Gardner Minshew stacks, and that is going to be a way that you could get some exposure to the popular pieces in this game, but also just make a very cheap lineup that also isn't going to be all that popular. So Gardner Minshew is only $4,500. Let's actually make a Minshew lineup here, where we can include some of these players from the Bengals, but we could do it in a way where we're going to be stacking it from the other side of the game. And with Gardner Minshew at $4,500, pulling 5% ownership, this could really reduce some of the ownership share there. And then we're going to have no issues spending up for some of those other skill position players. So let's go double stack here. So we'll go Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. Now, because Minshew is so cheap, I don't think you have to make double stacks with him. But for this lineup, I want to do, once again, pretty heavy game stack, but on the other side here. Jeremy Heisen says, does the sim ever give you a middle finger if it hates your lineup? Lofty and I pitched that at one point. We were like, what if we just have it say your lineup sucks? But I don't think other people were fond of it. But yeah, we thought that would have been a funny thing to include in it. But no, it doesn't. It just doesn't give you anything. The lineup's no good. Gardner Minshew with Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers. And now let's go to Chase Brown at running back. We'll have him as the run back. All right. So no other Bengals that we're going to include in the lineup, but now you'll see, what do we have for remaining salary, Jordan? Yeah. So we've got lots of salary to play with now for the rest of this lineup. So at running back, we've already got Chase Brown. Now let's do one where we pay up for Alvin Kamara now in that matchup against the Carolina Panthers. Let's go Kamara. All right. So now for the other wide receivers, let's avoid Cedric Tillman in this lineup. Instead, let's go to Jake Bobo as a cheap option. So if you guys want to punt at wide receiver and you want to go to somebody who isn't Cedric Tillman, who also projects well, but isn't going to be nearly as popular, Jake Bobo with DK Metcalf banged up for the Seattle Seahawks, I think that's a reasonable way to go. We've got him projected for right around 9 fantasy points at only $3,400, pulling 8% ownership. So let's go Jake Bobo. I think that he's another value option that we haven't really discussed yet, who makes some sense in some lineups. Now we've got, let's see, 6,700 left. No, 5,700. Okay. Let's go with Tyreek Hill. I really like going back to Tyreek Hill this week. I think it's a good bounce back after he was chalk, just meh last week. All right. So now defense, let's plug in the Cardinals defense for this one. Okay. And now we've got 2 spots left. And how much salary, Jordan? Oh, just 1 spot left. And 7,200. Boy, we're going to get stuck on that Tony Pollard price again, aren't we? Oh, cool. All right. So let's go James Cook then. Let's plug in James Cook. I was thinking we were going to get stuck on the same Pollard price again. Yeah, run the sim. We used all the salary, and I'm interested to see, how does this look? We've got lower ownership by going to Gardner Minshew as opposed to Joe Burrow. Some of the core of the lineup is the same, but still, we've got a little bit of a different looking lineup here. Yeah, another strong one, 96.4% sim ROI, so ended up rating out fairly similar to the other lineup that we built, but still, 2 good lineups, 2 different ways you could go about building your teams today. If you want to go cheap at QB and be a little bit different, I really do think there's some interest there in Gardner Minshew. And shout out to Mike Junk, who left us a super chat. And there's no question there, Mike. If you had a question or want us to look at a lineup, you don't need to leave another super chat. Just throw it into the YouTube chat and I'll be on the lookout for it. But yeah, Mike, I don't know if you meant to leave something else in there. Let's head on over to FanDuel. All right. And now if we're going to look at the FanDuel side of things, as per usual, the biggest difference with FanDuel and DraftKings that FanDuel does include the Sunday night football game. And often when we're doing these shows, I do think it's fun to build lineups around the QB on Sunday night football. So let's do that again here. Let's go Sam Darnold, Jordan. Okay. So we got the Sunday night game tonight. It is the Minnesota Vikings at home against the Indianapolis Colts. And Sam Darnold, I meant to say it's $7,500, pulling 7% ownership. Just kind of a guy who's on the slate, but one that I get overweight to the field too. And then as far as stacking options to pair with him, a couple of things I like here. First off, for run backs, I think Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, both pretty good options. Michael Pittman is crazy cheap on FanDuel. Now, I know he hasn't had the best season. But we can get Michael Pittman at $5,800. Yeah, plug him in for me as the run back there. Michael Pittman at $5,800. Now, as the stack to get to with Sam Darnold, let's see. I mean, Jefferson's kind of the most common one. He's very expensive over on FanDuel at $9,200, but let's plug him in. Let's see if we can make it work. Justin Jefferson at $9,200. All right, so we've gone pretty expensive here so far at wide receiver. So we're going to have to go a little bit cheaper at running back. So let's plug in J.K. Dobbins is only $7,100 on FanDuel. I like J.K. Dobbins at running back this week. Also not crazy popular. He's 14% owned. And then let's also go to, and I see Mike Junk left in a lineup. And all right, it's from the other side of the Sunday night game to stack. So after we build this lineup, then we'll plug in Mike's lineup and we'll see how that looks stacking the Joe Flacco side. So yeah, Joe Flacco taking over a quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. So be aware if you guys are playing on FanDuel, it is going to be Flacco at QB. Let's see. So now at running back, kind of have to plug in Chase Brown. Just if you don't have lineups with Chase Brown, they're going to rate out so much worse than the single lineup sim just because of how well Chase Brown projects on a points per dollar basis. He's going to be chalk this week, but still really hard to get away from him. He's showing up in 2/3 of my lineups, running everything through the sims on FanDuel. So let's see. We've got how much salary is left there, Jordan? Okay, so let's see. A cheaper wide receiver that we could play on FanDuel. Jake Bobo's $4,300. Tyler Lockett is $6,200. Let's go Tyler Lockett at $6,200. Once again, same sort of idea as Jake Bobo, just somebody benefiting from the absence of DK Metcalf. And now at tight end, let's go. Kyle Pitts is relatively cheap at tight end over on FanDuel at $6,000. Listen, I know Kyle Pitts has let us down how many times over the last few years, but it does seem like he's finally in a spot to actually produce regularly. Kirk Cousins is playing well at quarterback, so it's by far the best QB he's ever had. And now also it's not Arthur Smith that coach anymore calling the plays. So Kyle Pitts has strung together a few good games in a row. And I don't know, maybe this is finally the breakout for Kyle Pitts. I'm going to be overweight to the field to him this weekend. And let's go to defense now, Jordan, just so we know what we're going to be able to play with for those final two spots. Let's see. Cheap defenses on FanDuel. Let's go to the Chargers at $4,200. I think the Chargers are kind of an interesting defense to get to differentiate from the field if we want to talk a little bit about defenses here. All the ownership going to Cedric Tillman that we're expecting, and then it's still Jameis Winston at quarterback. Who's more mistake prone than Jameis Winston? He's always live to throw interceptions, pick sixes. So I do think you get a little bit of leverage if you're playing Chargers defense and lineups that don't have Cedric Tillman. So let's go to the Chargers D. And now what do we have left? All right. So who projects best at 77? We got the flex available. So whatever player projects best. This guy. Just always the final guy to show up in lineups. All right, Tony Pollard it is. Another direction we could have gone there. Aaron Jones is $7,500. I wouldn't mind there being a double stack, even though it would be Sam Darnold with his running back there. But that's another direction we could have gone in. But yeah, looks good there. 98.3% similar. Pretty consistent. We're getting like what have been the marks on these lineups now, Jordan? Like 97, 98, and 99 or something like that. So let's now plug in that final lineup from Mike, which is going to be a stack of the Colts side of the game. So it was Joe Flacco at QB. All right, Joe Flacco, Bijan Robinson, Tyrone Tracy, Pittman, Lamb, Olave, then he's got Gesicki, Aaron Jones, and the Giants defense. I'm not sure how well this one is going to sim out. There are definitely some interesting pivot points he's made, like going to Chris Olave as a point of leverage as opposed to playing Alvin Kamara. Then also in the lineup, he's got a really low-owned Tyrone Tracy, who's going to be paired with the Giants defense. You got Aaron Jones as a run back in this lineup. Let's see. But I don't hate it, but I do think it might be really hard for lineups to sim out well if they don't have Chase Brown. Well, let's see. I'll be interested to see what happens if we just swap out Tracy for Brown after we do this. Yeah, negative 7.3. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Tracy and Brown are like the exact same price, Jordan. So let's just go Chase Brown instead. All right, so let's just see. If we just make that 1-for-1 swap, no other differences in the lineup. We just went Chase Brown instead of Tyrone Tracy. And let's see what that does to the sim ROI. I bet it improves it a lot. But let's see how much. Yeah, 19%. So once again, better, not necessarily optimal or anything like that. If you have a lineup that's expected to be really high percentile lineup, then we're going to get the great lineup indicator instead. But we just got a couple minutes left. Let's see if there's a couple of other maybe adjustments that we can make here that would maybe make the lineup slightly better. Let's see. Running back. Let's see. Bijan Robinson is $8,500. What if we plug in take Bijan Robinson out and put Aaron Jones into Bijan's spot? And then let's see if I'm pretty sure they'll be able to fit in a wide receiver who projects better. Can we? All right. All right. What if we went... What's the price point on the Giants defense? All right. So we can't really go cheaper there. All right. So it looks like we're kind of stuck on Bijan. What if at wide receiver... No, I think we're kind of locked into these spots here. I don't really think there's any other like 1-for-1 swaps we could do. Either way, the lineup doesn't look terrible, Mike, but play around with the single lineup sims if you're a sub, and I think you can improve on it a little bit. But overall, lineup doesn't look terrible. I think you're on the right track there. And I am out of time here because this is the end of my segment. It is time to kick it off to Ben and Lofty on the deep dive and live before lock right after them. So 3 more hours of football coverage here, guys. If you haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you want to sign up for any of our NFL packages, promo code MILL, M-I-L-L. Rick won $1 million last week. You could be the next Millie Maker winner. Sign up. Link down below in that promo code. Get yourself 30% off any package. Good luck, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you back here on the channel tomorrow. Peace out.
Dude, I'll jump, like I'll get at it because you don't notice sometimes if I'm just sitting here, especially if I take ibuprofen in the morning. I'll get up out of the chair and go to just normally walk somewhere and basically fall over. So, yeah, like very close to just not good. Hey, good morning.
Good.
Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Deeper Dive Week 9. You know, I hate being the guy that always says this, but it's true. Like, isn't it wild that we're halfway through the season already, man?
So it is wild. Obviously, I come at it from different vantage points. Like college basketball starts tomorrow. Now that is to me truly wild. Like,
Yeah, I don't see it that way, but
no,
I
of
get
course
why
not.
you do.
I just like I associate certain holidays with certain things, and like I always associated that with Thanksgiving, and now it's like Halloween. It's kind of just a weird
I
thing,
get
but
what you're
best time of the
saying.
year.
Yeah, I feel you. Did you get any additional sleep today with the little roll the clocks back?
No,
No?
I don't, not a fan of that stuff.
You know why I didn't? Because it's difficult to tell an 11-month-old the daylight savings is coming and she needs to sleep. So I'm out with my wife for dinner and we had some drinks last night and I go, it's like 9:30 and I'm like, all right, let's go. And it's like, oh, it's daylight savings tomorrow. We get an extra hour. But then you realize it doesn't make a difference at all.
No,
So
no,
here we are. Yeah, I was up at 5. Just to so you understand what I'm talking about. But technically 6, right? Technically 6. Happy to have you guys here. We got a 12-game slate. Yo, a ton has changed since we talked on Tuesday. Like a lot of things have
knew it
changed.
would.
Always does. Sometimes more dramatic than others. But if you don't mind, I'm going to do so right now. Ben, do me a big favor. Atone for your sins. Hit that thumbs up button. If you could be so kind. I have a sneaky suspicion we hit 1,000 today. We get back to 1,000 today.
I could see that. I could see that. We're feeling good. Like I'm not gonna. At some point, I'll be victory lapping my Oracle takes from last week, particularly with $1 million winners. But yeah, I feel pretty good about saying we're gonna have a nice bump in likes today. We're gonna get it started quickly. Good slate. I feel pretty good in all honesty.
Yep. And Morg ZZY, can you guys not spend 50% of the show on the first 3 games today? You got it, pal. Make it 75%.
Let's just
Anyway, if
only
you
do
wouldn't
showdown.
mind, take a single second. Hit that. It is Sunday morning. You should be other places, but you're here. Tap that thumbs up. Come on, get us to 1K today. And subscribe to the channel. As Ben would tell you, it is 100% free to do so. Yes, we appreciate you guys being with us, spending your time here. Yeah, yeah. Lowballers, having deja vu of Laffy talking about this last year, hate it too. Yeah, and then Ken said, same with dogs, Laffy. Couldn't be further from the same with couldn't be further. I mean, if a dog has to get up to piss or something, you let them out and they come back to bed. No, it's different. I have a dog. That dog, if I didn't wake her ass up, she'd just sleep. Let's go for a walk. No, it's different. But anyway, let's start it off with what Alan said, Ben. Today's a great day to have a great day. Good luck, everyone. We could use a great day, huh? Last couple weeks for me, it was a great season. Last couple weeks, I started to feel a little bit of pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it happens, ebbs and flows. You know what? It can change super fast. I like the slate. I like the slate a little more than last week's. Last week's just felt chaotic. I don't know. Sometimes you just feel like you have no rhythm. And maybe that's, there's some bias with your results. If I had a huge week last week, I would have been saying, I actually like that slate more than I imagined. But this is a good spread. I like this. You look at the board, you have like 3 or 4 games north of a touchdown in terms of some big favorites. You got a lot of games, though, inside a field goal. You've got totals ranging north of 50 to sub 40. I just like that there's a litany of options on the board. That's always my favorite type of slate.
Me too. And look, I see what you're saying, but I would say that you're right in that it doesn't actually mean anything. The whole
No.
like this slate, that because the best week I had this year was when you and I texted each other right at 1:00 and we're like, so we lost before it
Slate's
even
over.
started. Yeah.
I mean, we do that every week, so I guess
That's true.
you have to narrow it down, but
Well, I
yeah.
think what we've done is intentionally put ourselves in a position to just assume, right? Like you want to, it's the whole like expect the worst, hope for the best, with DFS in football, it's so, I mean, there's no mercy. It's either amazing or just like, oh, good, I made back 10% this week. So let's
Yeah,
make back
salvage
more
mode.
than, what's that?
Yeah, I mean, there's two mindsets. Either you're like, all right, or you're just in salvage mode, where you're
Yeah.
just like, this is gonna be bad, but there's just degrees of how bad it could be. But you know what? Again, the beautiful thing, you wipe the slate clean. Someone out there is gonna have life-changing days. That's the coolest part about it.
All right. What do you say we have some fun? Get to it.
Let's get into it before we get yelled at by chat.
Yeah. Well, like I said, 75%. Washington at the New York Giants. And then, of course, Eric and Matt taking you up to lock at 11:30. Washington's a 4-point favorite at the Giants, 44.5 point total here. Brian Robinson's the only, like in this game, the only questionable player was Brian Robinson, expected to play. But, even on the other side, Tracy cleared concussion protocol, which was surprising given that it's a short week and they played a Monday night game. I thought he would be more unlikely to play, but here we are. On the Washington side, though, it's one of these spots where I know you've kind of been opposed to Jaden McDaniels chalk this season. Of course, your preposterous victory lap when he got hurt after a 50-yard rush. Don't get me started. But
Not true at all.
what do you mean?
That's just as
Look at
preposterous as
Victor-
these people being like, wow, look how good he is that he can throw a Hail Mary that got volleyball tipped to the guy because the other guy wasn't paying attention. So
Yeah,
he
true.
gets out.
That is true. Right.
Like,
Right. Oh my God. The Adam Schefter tweet yesterday being like, and now everyone's clamoring to come to Washington after that Hail Mary
yeah,
win.
that solidified
What are you
it.
talking about, dude? I'm not saying players don't have interest in playing with Jaden Daniels and potentially coming to Washington, but stop acting like, oh yeah, that Hail Mary really that was the catalyst. No, you had a dumbass waving to the fans and taunting them and forgetting to get back into the play. Anyway, I digress. I have some Washington today. There are just other spots, and you and I try and be pretty explicit about this because it'd be easy to come into a show. And if you guys like these type of shows that I'm about to talk, then there's plenty of them out there. If you like the type of shows that's like goes over every game and they have 5 viable players for every team, go for it. If you're looking to confirm your biases, right, and your own thoughts, there's plenty out there. And this, honestly, this isn't me like high horsing it either. I'm just saying there's certain spots where I'm going, it looks pretty good, but I'm not sure how I get there with a lot of volume. That's kind of Washington for me today. I have a little bit of Jaden Daniels. I'm not going to try and force more Jaden Daniels. The wide receiver position's got so much good value, but also a lot up top. So I'm limited on my Terry McLaurin exposure. And then there's value now at the tight end position, right? Like in Seattle, in Cincinnati. So how am I going to get to a ton of Zach Ertz? I'm not. I have kind of scattered amounts of all of these guys today. And even at running back, what am I doing with Brian Robinson when Eckler's still getting involved and he's been kind of like playing, but not at full capacity because he's been tending to injuries?
That's a fascinating thing. It feels like it's not a one-to-one, analogy, but it feels like as teams get more competent, sometimes their value in DFS gets a little worse. I think Washington's a decent example of that, where they have ample weapons now. It's not just one guy. Like they've got a backfield that they're really comfortable with. That's not a great situation. They've got a quarterback that's clearly a dual threat. Not a super comfortable situation. You got McLaurin on the outside. Yeah, he's great, but prices come up north of 7. You mentioned Ertz, but he's competing with a lot. And I mean, yeah, look at McLaurin has finally pierced 7K. This is the first time this year that he's over 7,000 on any slate. And I'm not saying it's not warranted, but slowly you chip away at what kind of those target areas are. So I look at Washington. I don't want to get hot takey right off the bat. This is going to be a competitive game. 4-point spread. I would not be shocked if they lose this game, but it's not the best spot. I think you can always go there because they've proven they're a potent offense and it's the Giants. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. This is not a team where I honed in on them by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm with you. Jack Sutton. And if you're looking for the show where they talk about nothing for the first 10 minutes, ... Careful, pal. Week 10, you're getting 25. Also, it's like an hour and 40-minute show. So I don't know what to tell you. So wait, competitive spot. Does that mean you like this more for Washington?
So you can take it two ways. It's certainly not a game where I'm like, oh, they're going to be gearing down or anything like that. But at the same time, when you're in competitive games, it also kind of infers that you might not be as successful in terms of your team total and whatnot. And I do think that Washington, on the whole, doesn't really stand out in any conceivable way. We have it on the screen. The ownership's not popping off for any of these guys, so maybe it's an against the grain stack, but I think that they're pretty appropriately priced. And when you're appropriately priced, unless there's an ownership or high leverage situation, you don't really jump off the page to me.
Are you buying into the Washington defense yet?
No.
Okay.
No, definitely not.
Are you? I
Are
wasn't trying to trick you. I definitely think they're a lot better than last year, man. Last year I picked on, I know you're going to say, well, you can't be any worse than last year. I get it.
Yeah, that's not the bar that I'm measuring them against. And I agree with you.
All I'm saying is I think like you bring Dan Quinn in, Joe Witt Jr. has been pretty damn good himself as a D coordinator there. I'm saying I think they're better. They don't have a lot of notable talent in the secondary, but they have a decent defensive line. They're getting pressure. If this were last year, you and I we'd have 100% Malik Neighbors in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, Neighbors is the guy I would say. I don't think this is crazy. I think he might be the most popular play from this entire game when you look at it.
He should be, though, don't you think?
I think so. I mean, we'll talk about Tracy, but you still look at Neighbors, and I know, there was I guess a speed bump, you could call it. He got hurt. He was in protocol. He's right back to business. I mean, the guy had 13 targets against Pittsburgh. He's basically walking into double-digit targets in any of these games. And despite me saying, I think this could stay close, if it does play to the spread, the Giants will be trailing, and he should be busy once again.
No question. Stephen Leibowitz, if you're not here to talk about giraffes' fatal accidents, stand down. Yeah, if you think the intro to this show.
Yeah, clearly some of these people don't watch the Tuesday show.
We've tamed that down quite a bit.
Yeah, I know. It's sad, isn't it?
It is.
We used to spend like a half hour on exotic animals in Olympic swimming pools, and now we're like, the third kicker.
I know. It's
in the world. Man. It's sad.
Brandon Wagner, playing with the Sims for my second week and learning how shitty my hand-built lineups are. It will do that to you, honestly. Because those hand-built lineups will look really good until you realize that, like in NFL, such DFS being those hand-built lineups would have been sick like 6 years ago. That's what kind of sucks, because I get it. We love it. That's why we have the single lineup simulator though, where that's where you hand build and figure it out. So actually you can still hand build. You just kind of revise. You're kind of recreating your hand building practice, Ben, for 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a perfect example of that. I'm someone that spends certainly more time on individual lineups than most. And it's like, I took what I used to do and I just kind of upgraded it to 2024, like you said. So now I have checks and balances. I have tools to help me craft my lineups, which is the perfect blend, honestly.
I will throw this out there to you though. And before we move on from this game, I think if like my favorite way to play it, and this could be a huge mistake, because obviously like we know Jaden Daniels' ceiling is huge. But I think my favorite way to play it would be like some Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors skinny stacks, or just Tyrone Tracy. I don't hate Tracy at all today. I'm around the field on him right now. Clearly Brian Dable prefers him over Devin Singletary at this point. It's pretty obvious, right? Like it's very evident. And he's better.
I think it's probably warranted too.
He's good. He's played really well. I hammered every prop on him for Monday night. Everything. And he didn't hit the receptions ladder, but he got hurt when they were down. And I'm like, oh, here we go. We're going to hit everything. But no, he's been great. He's been efficient. 5,500. I like him. The only reason, Ben, truly, the only reason he's not getting more ownership is because Zach Moss is out and you have Chase Brown. It's because Kendre Miller and Jamal Williams are out. And I'm not saying same price point, obviously, but like Kamara, you have no Tajay Spears and Pollard's expected to play. I could go down the list. The only reason on another slate, you could be seeing like 25% Tyrone Tracy ownership.
Definitely. And we're already getting what I think is going to be an extremely common question of, can you pay down twice at running back together? Two sub 6K running backs in Tracy and
Yes.
Brown. I think the answer is yes. I'm not saying it's my favorite build in the world, but if you do that and you avoid, and we'll talk about all these ceiling games out there, points per dollar, you're going to be in a great spot. And then you can allocate to the stud wide receivers that we have on this slate.
I'm with you. Yeah. I'm not, it's not, you don't have to, but you absolutely can do that today. I don't hate 3 running back lineups with an RB in the flex either. Like 2 cheap, 1 expensive. I don't hate that at all. Final thoughts on this game. Favorite way to play it. I told you what mine was. It's not going to be one of my highest exposed games though.
Same thing. It's my favorite way to play it is that if some of these weapons end up in one-offs in other lineups, that'll be fine. And if I don't get much of this game, that's fine too.
Denver, Baltimore. Baltimore 9.5-point favorites, 46.5-point total. If we were to kick it off with the road team as we typically do, look, I don't want to go to Javante here. Just very little interest in something like that. Plus, Baltimore run defense is stellar. They've been a clear pass funnel defense all year. They can get pressure though. It's a tough spot for Bo Nix. And like, I think you have to credit Bo Nix. You know, I'm a fan of this guy, and you've become a fan with kind of his rapid ascension through the ranks after not being good originally. But okay, Carolina last week, fine. You look, you can't choose the schedule. All I'm saying is it was Carolina, terrible football team right now. Sean Payton said as much. Wasn't that you that told me about him saying they suck?
He did. He was just like, that team's awful. They're a bad offense.
Yeah.
Like,
Carolina, or sorry, then the Saints Saints are just terrible right now, particularly without Carr. He's back. Chargers, they lost to. And then Raiders, just a lifeless Raiders team. The Jets in that game, they had been terrible up until Sunday. It was a Sunday night? Monday? I don't know. We bet the Jets and people were all over us for that, but that was the spot.
What game?
The Jets game. I'm saying that Jets Houston game, the clear spot was Jets.
That was Thursday.
Thursday.
This week.
Right.
Yeah.
I lose track of time, man.
Yeah, I hear you. Yep.
Tampa beat them with a bad secondary, banged up, but I'll give him credit for that for sure. And their defense played well on top of it. All I'm saying is this is yes, Baltimore's a pass funnel defense. The Bo Nix week was last week. Our friend Rick sub to Stokastic took down the Millie with a naked Bo Nix lineup. You have to love that. If anything, I'd take some shots on Cortland Sutton, low exposure, but that's really all I'm going to with Denver.
Yeah, it's a fascinating situation because there's, look at the line, look at the situation. It doesn't scream to me that this is the spot that I want to get involved with much Denver. But I will say, to speak to the other side of it, if you go blind, a lot of the Baltimore pass defense metrics look like Carolina's. They're in the bottom 5 in passing yards allowed per attempt. They're giving up big plays at an insane rate. As good as Baltimore is, and they are good, and they're at home, and you would think they'll be pretty angry. That defense has some issues. I mean, they're dropping in, it's not the worst matchup. It's a much worse matchup in name than it is in reality. I'll say that much.
Absolutely. I talk about it all the time. They've allowed more 20+ yard completions than any team in the league, including Jacksonville. Now, we'll see. They get Wiggins back, so that's big. I don't know if Marlon Humphrey's going to play, but if he's back, you have to think that eventually this team becomes better than they've been.
I would think so.
Say it again?
I said I would really think so.
Oh, I thought you said I don't.
No, I do. I mean,
and also, like, if you go back, you've probably watched a lot of these Ravens games. I'm telling you right now, like last week, yes, fine. They were also missing Wiggins and Humphrey, and Marlon Humphrey is expected to play. If you watched a lot of these games, there were some, I don't know what it is where these opposing quarterbacks just become like prime Joe Montana. I'm serious. They're threading the needle on some of the tightest windows. Even that Jaden Daniels game that throws to Terry McLaurin, like you can't get coverage better than we've seen. So I think you definitely see kind of regression here, positive regression for Baltimore. This just isn't the spot for Denver for me today. You got Wiggins back. You got Humphrey, expected to get Humphrey back. Like, come on, they can't be this bad.
No, and a lot of it is there's some optics nature to it. Like if Kyle Hamilton catches the ball last week, people are not nearly as
Great point.
upset.
Great point.
Like
Yeah.
they've just, it's been some stuff. Now, if you told me, hey, I want to, I got a lineup and I needed a mid-range wide receiver and I landed on Cortland Sutton, 5% owned, like, could you do
Sure.
worse than that? I think that's fine. Am I
Sure.
looking to really allocate major shares to Denver? No, I'm definitely not looking to the backfield. This is not the spot for that. So when you're upwards of double-digit underdogs, it's a tough ask, and I think that's what you get here.
What about the Baltimore side? Like, I still have a lot of respect for Denver's defense, but I do feel like this could be one of those games where like the veil is lifted. Not the veal, that would be strange, but the veil is lifted. And it's like, okay, Denver's good, but they're not as good as they've looked.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an element. Listen, it's it's the NFL, like super fluid. Every team. We just talked about this on Thursday. The 2-6 Jets were favored against the 6-2 Texans. Like, if you play the transitive property game, you can make Carolina the best team in the league easily.
And also, if you've been betting long enough, I think both of us looked at that spread on Tuesday and went, all right, well, we just have to.
Yeah, I mean, I did have the Jets. It's one of, sometimes you look great there. Other times you're like, why did I bet on the 2-6 team?
I'm not talking about the fact that we won. I'm saying,
oh, no, of course.
I made the same argument on Tuesday. Like, it's just sometimes you have to make those bets because of, like you said, the level of parity, like all of that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But looking at this game, the Ravens on the other side have been I think they're always kind of a difficult team because they just have, again, ample weapons. And with Derrick Henry, you just never know where that volume is going to be. It really thought to me that they had found something. He had a 4-week stretch where he had 24 more carries in 3 games. And it was just like, they're just going to wear down teams on the ground. Then he has 15 carries against Tampa Bay, but he rumbled for, 169. And you're like, okay, he had 11 carries against Cleveland last week. I mean, that's just really disappointing volume. And at 8,300, you're just not getting there unless he sees that. And then it hurts on the other side. You've got, Flowers, you've got the tight ends getting involved, and you've got Lamar on the ground. So it's another game. You have weapons, but none of these guys jumped off the page when I was just playing around, getting my first look in.
Same. And it's not because Deontay Johnson's playing. Like, he's only expected to play 10 to 15 snaps, like pretty much Amari Cooper in his first game with Buffalo role.
Yeah, we talked about that, in our projections meeting. I was there with you, and we were talking about Deontay, and we all kind of agreed that I don't think he takes on, we use some of these other wide receivers with new homes as a reference point.
We gave him the Amari role.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's warranted.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you. You could always go to a Zay here, but I mean, I don't have a ton of interest picking on this Denver secondary. So. Just not a game I love, man. Really not. I think if there's one guy, it's Sutton I probably like the most, and I don't anticipate getting to a ton. Anything else?
Not really. I mean, I was gonna even say the Ravens defense I think is interesting, but they're just a little pricey. And we talked about, they can do some things, but that's not something I'm really looking to either, to be honest.
Nah, I think once you get to this Miami Buffalo game, things start looking real interesting. So Miami's a 6.5 point road dog, 49.5 point total. Amari Cooper's questionable. Curtis Samuel questionable. Not that he matters, but just, looking through the ranks here. The Miami side, Tyreek Hill's still underpriced. There is one guy though that I think I allocate a boost to in the Sims today. And I understand why a lot of people wouldn't be getting here. He's not particularly cheap, but I like Devon Achane in this spot.
Always do.
Me or us? Just me.
No, you're a bigger Achane guy than I am.
You can look at last week, and of course, the obvious concern is, well, Raheem Mostert didn't do anything except vulture 2 touchdowns, right? Not great. I don't love that. But Achane's basically this, like, if you look at the pecking order as far as target share goes with Tua out there, it's Tyreek Hill and it's Devon Achane and Waddle's third. It's just the way it's been. It's just the way it's been. And, you look earlier this season, 7 for 69 for Achane in this game, same spot against the Bills. Granted, Tua only played, less than a half of that game. But still, what I'm getting at is that they're involving him heavily in the passing game. He's also the best running back they have. If there was a kind of slate breaking tournament upside type play on this slate, I think Achane has all of that potential. Do I love the fact that he is in a timeshare in the backfield? No, obviously not. Do I like the fact that last week in a competitive game, he had 8 targets? Yeah, I do. Like, if you're talking about, one of, if not the most explosive and involved pass catching backs in the league, Devon Achane is at the top of that, the forefront of that conversation every single time we talk about it. The return of Tua Tagovailoa doesn't just help Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. It bolsters Achane's value a ton. So do I think that the floor is a little lower here than I'd like? Sure. I want to have some Devon Achane today. I get your argument, and I wouldn't blame you. It's, the vulturing with Raheem Mostert, the not getting a ton of opportunities. Sure. But 18 and 18 touches over his last 2 games, I can live with getting a little bit above the field on a guy like this that could blow things wide open.
I get it. I totally get it. And you mentioned the vulturing. That already happened, and he was able to work right through it. So in some ways, I think you can spin it the other direction. Okay, he was in a game last week where he got vultured a couple times, right? The guy had 97 yards rushing, 50 yards passing, and he scored in the air. So he clearly can overcome that, even if you get that type of run out. Never mind if he happens to get one on the ground. So I get it. I'm going to pass it right back to you, because for me, I'm interested in maybe some flyers there. Certainly interested in Tyreek. I'm still not overly, unless the Sims really push him towards my lineups, I'm not really interested in Tua as much, though.
Me neither.
Okay.
No, me neither. This is like a Tyreek Hill and Achane spot for me, particularly. Waddle's still cheap, but if he has that game, you might just have to live with it, Ben. Like, not
I
play.
bet him to score. That's how I got rid of him.
Okay, I can appreciate that. Also, for what it's worth, Raheem Mostert, definitely the more involved guy in the red zone. Last week, we saw it like 5 in the red zone to 1 for Achane. But Achane, two red zone targets as well. So, pick your poison there. Do I like Tua? No. But I think I would be okay with some lineups that have Tyreek Hill and Achane without Tua, because you're not paying a premium on Hill right now. Like, you're getting him probably $1,300 cheaper than he should be. Achane probably few $100s cheaper than he should be. So if that's the case, I don't mind that. What about James Cook on the other side?
Yeah, I mean, James Cook is just, I don't want to say quietly, because I think that might be, it's not like people don't know about James Cook, but guy's just playing fantastic. 17 for 111 and 2 last week, handful of targets. You always have to compete with, it's not as bad as Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, but Josh Allen they will design a couple for him. Certainly in the red zone, he'll take it. So you have to worry about that, but favorable game script. I mean, this is upwards of a touchdown favorite for Buffalo. Cook should be pretty busy. He's not going to be popular because he's kind of in a weird range for running backs. And I do think I prefer a couple other guys in that range. But yeah, James Cook is in play today for sure.
Rick, we're talking about it. The Stokastic sub, that beautiful avatar up there. You called it on this show too.
I certainly did. I said it in this very chair that I just had that feeling. It was a 2-part call. Like I said, the second part was the more important part, where I said, hopefully it's me. That part didn't come to fruition, but you know what? I was genuinely, that was really cool. I was sweating that really hard at the end.
You know what made me bring this up? What prompted this was that he had the low-owned James Cook.
He did. He was like, I think he had the Bills defense with him.
Yeah. It was awesome too. And you guys can thank Rick for this one. 30% off any NFL DFS package. Links down there in the description. Jordan can throw it in the chat. If you haven't jumped in yet, you've been on the fence and you're going, well, actually, you're telling me now that I could do any package. I could do any week, any month that I want. Like, Jordan, what I would suggest doing, because the promo code is MILL, M-I-L-L. You just type that in and you got access to whatever you want for 30% off. Click on that Stokastic join thing, Jordan, and pull that up on the screen so people see what I'm talking about. Because you have anything from whether you're a casual player, the basic light package, the core package, which is, I think, the best bang for your buck for sure, and the elite max package. Core has sims and the single lineup sim. It has literally everything that the max package has. The only difference is that the max package, you can simulate up to 10,000 lineups in the pre-contest simulator. That's the only difference. But yeah, that link in the description takes you there, and you could pick whichever one you want and use promo MILL, MILL, get 30% off. Look, I'm not the type of guy that's going to say, but I'm not going to go, oh yeah, now you can win a milli this week. Of course, winning a milli is just a crazy thing, but you're going to build better lineups. I mean, Brandon Wagner said it with the super chat earlier. He's like, after building lineups and using these tools the past couple of weeks, I'm realizing like the difference in type of lineups that are actually profitable, that have the highest ROI. It's, you know, that's all it boils down to, man.
I mean, no doubt about it. Yes. If your expectations, let's be realistic, are I want to win the milli today, let me do this. I mean, come on. You're talking about, that's not the goal. The goal is, can I put in lineups that have a higher chance to get lucky and get to that? That's what you're trying to do here. You're putting in really sound lineups that are ahead of the field. You do that enough, sometimes it's your day, and the ball bounces your way. And we've seen it not just with Rick. I mean, it's an endless, you know, we know what we're putting out there. The team did an incredible job, and I'm excited. I mean, we use them. That's my always thing when people say it. I say, I've been a hand builder. I've been playing DFS for a long time, and I use these tools every week. I incorporate my own spin on it. I definitely boost some things. I definitely swap some things. But I use this as my framework each and every week.
Absolutely.
Oh, the bots are here. What the hell's going on?
They're back. MILL with that link. You'll see it. Goody, maybe a stupid question, but the simulating 10,000 really is it really that much better than 1,000 when you're playing 20 max? It depends on the field size, man. It really it depends. But like if you have the 1,000, in many cases, you're going to be okay. So like talking about that core package, yeah, you're going to be okay. All right. So let's get to actually anything else from Buffalo here. Are you going to the pass catchers?
The problem with the pass catchers are just, it's an incredibly volatile situation for multiple reasons. You have Amare comes over, working into the offense, obviously, also was sporting a Q tag. You've got Keon Coleman, who is a rookie and clearly starting to make some strides. They seem comfortable with him. He's had 7 targets in back-to-back games. And then you've got, you know, the secondary options. And I don't mean that in terms of priority, but like Shakir has been there, Kincaid has been there, Josh Allen on the ground. So another team really difficult. Reminds me of the Lions a little bit when you talk about like, who's the alpha on Buffalo? I mean, there's really
we don't know right now.
Yeah, that's hard to allocate salary like that.
Could be Coleman, could be Cooper. I don't know.
I think and chat just mentioned this, volatility is good though. I agree with that. It's just the range of outcomes is gigantic because you're going to get games where some of these key weapons have, you know, 3 or 4 targets and you're basically dead. And then you're going to have games where they score 5 touchdowns and one guy has 2 or 3 of them. So I get it. I'm interested in Buffalo as a team, but it's hard to really make a priority list.
Big time. And I will say Miami's going to be without 2 starters in their secondary.
What's wrong? I mean, I know they had obviously issues with the court, but I cannot believe that they could not beat Arizona last week.
I liked that spot. I bet Miami.
So did I. I don't understand what
I don't get it
that
either.
was.
And Josh Allen is like 13-2 straight up against Miami for his career. If I'm going one spot, it would be Keon Coleman, but that price point is still difficult to get to. I like James Cook. I like Devon Achane and Tyreek Hill the most. And someone had mentioned in chat that Tyreek Hill has struggled against Buffalo. He has. They've played him really well throughout the entirety of his career. But at that price point, I'm willing. Like if he was up there at the same price as Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, and all of those other guys, you know, CeeDee Lamb, which is where he will be once DraftKings realizes that they need to fix this salary. That's a different conversation than having him at 7,300 on DraftKings. It's just different, Ben.
Yep. That's where he will be. That's the point I take from that as well.
Exactly. All right. You ready to move on here? Las Vegas and Cincinnati. I'm going to start it off with the Raiders side and toss this one over to you because we have a lot to talk about with Cincy. The Raiders are 7-point dogs though. Obviously Devontae Adams has been gone for a couple of weeks now. Jacoby Myers returned last week. Aiden O'Connell is on the IR, so it's Gardner Minshew again. And Alexander Madison has essentially taken over the backfield while Zamir White's been relegated to like 1 or 2 snaps per game. And then Brock Bowers has been sick. So sick as in good, not sick as in under the weather. What are you doing with Vegas today? Could this be a sneaky stack against a vulnerable Cincinnati? Why? That's not a crazy question.
No, it's not crazy. It's not a crazy question at all. It's just, I mean, do you not feel, that's my reaction to it. It's just like, I don't like their team at all. I don't like the Raiders. I don't like their coach. I don't like the spot. I'm close to betting Cincinnati. You mentioned Bowers. It's every living tight end scored on National Tight End Day. He did not. He was pretty quiet for his standards. You know, he had 12, 10, and 14 targets over the last 3 weeks. He was five catches on 5 targets. A fine game, just underwhelming given how good he is. And honestly, he only has 1 touchdown on the year. That's underwhelming. That's going to regress in a good way. This guy's too good to be held down by something like that. I'm not getting involved in this backfield. I think that the cheap backs maybe have rendered it not as big of a decision point anyway. But to me, Raiders are more a piece of, if I have money, I'll go get Brock Bowers because I still think he should be the most expensive tight end. I don't see the shootout equity as much as maybe you do.
I'm not saying I see shootout equity, just that I don't want to totally gloss over this Raiders team entirely because they're 7-point dogs.
No, it's not. Listen, it's Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati has been a perpetual underachiever the entire year. I told you, I mean, obviously I was kidding, but it's like, I look at Madison, he had 14 carries for 15 yards last week.
I know.
Cool. And you just have, you can look at it 2 ways. He'll be in a ownership pivot clearly off his counterpart in this game. That's not even up for debate. But I think that's warranted in the sense that Chase Brown's just in a much better spot. So I just don't have a lot of that. If you're starved for value, though, I mean, I would assume the Raiders are going to come out as a cheap stack that allow you to pay up elsewhere.
I just tried signing in the FanDuel and it said, we're experiencing a higher demand in your state than expected. Please try back later. I've never gotten that one.
Yeah, I've
just
never
to
seen
log
that.
in.
That's kind of shady.
Yeah, it's odd. I'm in now. We're good. But anyway, look, Bowers is fine. Madison would be a pretty decent play if we didn't have other guys like Chase Brown on the other side. How do you get away? Look, fading chalky running backs recently has worked out really well. Worked out great for Rick last week. Won the Millie, right? Like he truly just went through, used the Sims tool in conjunction with the boom bust tool, and like negative boosted some of the, capped a bunch of these guys, went through and selected these lineups. He said he was still over the field on Tyreek Hill, and it's not like he didn't have any Breece Hall or anything like that, but also got to some really unique lineups without that chalk. And it just so happened that he had no Breece and no Tyreek Hill in that winning lineup. I'll tell you, there are a few spots, though, that I look at and I go, I'm okay eating the chalk. And one of these spots is Chase Brown. I'm just getting way over the field. So it's not like a match. I'm just getting way over the field on Chase Brown with no Zach Moss today.
No, and listen, I get that. I'm pretty comfortable with that chalk as well. I mean, the thing I like about it, he's certain, and you this has been a guy that you've been a lot higher on. You've just been waiting for the opportunity.
I was early on him.
You certainly were, and I mentioned to you the guy. It's not a workload issue. I've seen him have a ton of volume in college. The thing I like, though, it doesn't seem like there's a game script issue with him. Like, he can easily, obviously, catch the ball. That really boosts the floor. If they're winning, he can carry that workload on the ground. He's got touchdown equity. I looked at his anytime touchdown score. It's north of -110 already. People are expecting some good outputs from him, and I think that that's warranted. I guess, are you structuring any lineups? I kind of want to just put it together of like Minshew, Myers, Bowers, Brown, like a 3 with a run back. Is that kind of a build? Is it just pieces of the game?
Yeah, I don't see myself doing that. I mean, right now, let me see.
Maybe I'll do that.
pulling up weather from this Green Bay game, by the way. It's going to be a pretty rough one.
Is it really?
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
It was supposed to be like 80 degrees.
I
mean, I'm just making.
I think you have, yeah, you might be looking at last year's game or something because it's going to be 52.
Okay, well, that's fine. If you round up. Anyway.
Yeah, the old 80-degree games in November at Lambeau Field. So I do right now, I do have 10% Minshew. So let's see where the rest of my exposure is going here then.
Yeah, can you hone in on that? That's my favorite thing.
Absolutely.
Because I want to know like skinny +2.
Right. So let's see. Let me just go to stack exposures. So then you can see how much I have of each. Yeah, I have no QB +3. So no Gardner Minshew 3-man stacks. It's mostly 2-man stacks. And matter of fact, here's the cool thing about the Sims tool. I can just go into lineups and then filter by Minshew, and it'll show me what all of those lineups look like. Okay, Minshew with Myers, Bowers, Minshew, Myers, Bowers. It's a lot of Myers and Bowers, which makes sense to me.
That's one, I mentioned I'm not super high. If I do get any Raiders stack exposure, I feel very strongly saying it's going to be that exact one.
Yep. No, yeah, I have no problems with that, really. If I'm taking a look at other stack exposures, like the ones that are really up there, Joe Burrow, I have some 3-mans. That's because Chase is going to be in a lot of those, though. So,
which Chase Brown?
Sorry, Chase Brown. Yeah, sorry, Chase
okay.
Brown.
I'm like, yeah, Chase. The other
Jamar,
Chase is in there
course.
too. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I did want to talk about this though, because I think one of the guys that might be sneaky if you're playing these super large field, like mini max style, you know where I'm going?
No, I just, maybe actually go ahead.
Jermaine Burton.
Oh, definitely didn't know where you were going.
I mean, look, Yosivas might be fading, and you saw last week, Mike Gesicki, obviously a very good play this week, getting a good amount of him. They were lining him up as a receiver a lot because the guy's not going to be out there to block. So forget about his snap counts. Like they're using him as a receiver. But Jermaine Burton had not played really at all. When I say the guy had played sparingly through the first 7 weeks of the season, I mean that he had played 23 snaps throughout all of it. He played more snaps last week than he's played all season, 41%. Joe Burrow said explicitly that he wants to get him the ball more. Now, look, quarterback speak, coach speak doesn't necessarily mean much, but Yosivas was not good last week. Didn't haul in a single one of his 3 targets. Jermaine Burton has 2 40+ yard receptions, his only 2 receptions on the year. He's basically minimum salary. If there were a guy that I'm like, you know what, maybe on my mega stacks for Cincinnati that I'll take a shot with, Jermaine Burton could be one of those guys. He's the bare minimum.
I mean, you're not going to find guys at that price point. So I get it. What I was thinking of was this seems like a prime team. Not that you have to do it like this, but Cincinnati, the way that the salaries fall, fit having multiple skill position players without their quarterback. I mean, you can definitely do that, I think, with really any combination of them. And we've seen that be really effective. So you've got price points with these guys that are very appealing.
Who else do you want to get to for Cincy? Because obviously in this spot, they're one of the more popular teams as a touchdown favorite.
I mean, yeah, you've got the pay down options you talked about. Obviously, Gesicki's going to be really popular. I think that's totally warranted. Brown's going to be really popular, totally warranted. And then you're discussing Jamar Chase amongst CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, St. Brown type players. I don't think he's my favorite of the bunch, but he's Jamar Chase. There's really nothing to say. He can break any slate at any time, and he's an amazing player. So if I get to some Jamar Chase, I'll be just fine.
Yeah, so will I. But Chase Brown, I mean, are you on board?
With Chase Brown? Yeah, I am on board. I've said this several times, and it's just kind of my philosophy. Not always, because I try to approach it independently. Chase Brown's not going to be a big deal for me. I'm going to be around the field. He's going to be in, a healthy amount of my lineups. But if he has a terrible game, I will have outs as well.
Okay. I don't think I will.
Oh, you're jamming him?
I'm going to have a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's no two ways around it. My expectation, yes, is that I'm going to have quite a bit of Chase Brown in this game. Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna have just for the record, I'm gonna have a healthy amount too. I just don't know if we're talking about, am I gonna have 80, 90%? No, I'm not.
They literally have not given another player, another running back, a single snap this season, aside from Moss and Chase Brown. Does that mean that, Trevion Williams could get involved? Yes, of course. I think he'll spell Chase. I don't anticipate Chase getting 38 attempts, but they're not afraid to use this guy. So if he's got 15, 12, 10, 15, 12 rushing attempts, you're looking at around an average of 15 touches per game over the last 5 weeks, give or take, with Zach Moss healthy. You should be projecting him for what, around 20 total looks at sub 6K as a 7-point favorite. It's just going to be very difficult for me to get away from.
It's a great spot. It's a great spot. There's no argument about it.
All right. Brandon Wagner, thanks for the super chat again, brother. I know this isn't the time for Sims tutorials, but it's anything. No problem, man. This could help plenty of people, but hopefully they're taking advantage of the mill promo or the link join I'll mention in a second. Does finding plus ROI stacks in the stack ROI tab, is that a thing to target or just play with the Sims give me? It's hard to say. Like if the Sims are giving you something and you might see something that's like negative ROI, it just means across everything it was, but also means that it probably in those simulations won a bunch of times too. So I don't dig too far into that, Ben, when it's like, but well, I will say this though. No, if you're seeing something that has a like massively negative simmed ROI, for example, let's say the lowest is Trevor Lawrence QB +3 -46%, then yeah, I would imagine that I'm not going to have a ton of something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of correlates. Like
Right.
if a stack type is grading out really good, it's not going to be coincidental that when you're looking at some of your ROI top lineups, that stack is in there because we're saying it's grading out really well. So it's not the end all be all. I do look at it though sometimes where I'm just like, okay, let me work backwards. I have a QB +2 here. It grades out really well. Let's put that in and then start again putting those pieces around it, sorting by that, and then seeing what of these lineups do I like, how many uniques, things like that.
Would you guys like to know actually right now, at least with my run, what the highest stack ROI is for QB 1 +2 and +3? Tell you, Ben. Geno's, again, this doesn't mean you're going to get 100% of these. Geno Smith, QB +1, actually highest simmed ROI for skinny stacks. Gardner Minshew for 2-man stacks, matter of fact. Followed by Geno and Burrow, yeah. And Dak Prescott. And then for QB +3, Joe Burrow, Geno Smith, Derek Carr. I actually get that with Carr because if they just open it up, I'm not saying you got to do it. I'm just saying it doesn't shock me that because it's cheap too, but it's probably also Kamara in there.
Well, what I take from that, it's no surprise. All three of those have missing pieces. The Metcalfs, Higgins of the world. You need pay down options a lot of times to make that work.
That's a great point. Exactly. Yeah. You're getting it cheaper. But no, anytime you have those questions, feel free to hit us up, man. Over 3,600 people with us today. We're in business. This is good stuff. Feels good, huh? Time to get back on track. Dallas and Atlanta. Okay. Zeke's not expected to play. What did he do?
But Dallas is just, it's always something.
Well, you saw like he didn't travel with the team for, some type of I don't know, team whatever. Doesn't matter.
Well, then Dowdle was just, he was sick, like he had an illness and it was just like, I don't know.
But now what I'm saying is now Zeke isn't even playing.
No, I know. Yeah. Well, it's just.
Oh, you mean last week it was just something else?
I'm just saying it's always seemed this running back room. It's like, oh, Dowdle's sick. Now Zeke's scratched. Oh, Dalvin Cook is in the league and on the team. Like that was news at one point to me. It's just Cowboys, man. This is an interesting game, though. I think this quietly, not even quietly, look at the total, but there's pieces here for sure.
Yeah, Dowdle's rushing plus receiving is 64.5 though, so it's not exciting.
No, I'm not excited by anything in the Dallas backfield.
Me neither. If it was just him and Cook wasn't there, mindlessly and pointlessly vulturing opportunities, I probably would have, at least modest interest in such a high total game in Rico Dowdle. But really, CeeDee Lamb, if you're asking my favorite like pay up option today, not including Hill, right? I'm talking Lamb, Chase, Brown, the other St. Brown, all those guys. CeeDee Lamb is my favorite pay up option.
That's where, again, it was tying it into Jamar Chase. In the last game, yeah, you're playing 1v1s up there, and CeeDee Lamb just makes a lot of sense. He's got everything going for him. 31 targets in the last 3 games. Now, both those games were perfect game scripts for the Dallas passing game, and maybe this won't be, but maybe it will be again. Dallas isn't exactly a juggernaut, as you can see by the point spread.
Who's your favorite top tier receiver, like above 8K?
Oh, CeeDee Lamb.
So we're on the same page.
He was my favorite on Tuesday, and he's my favorite now.
Was he your favorite on Tuesday?
Oh, he was up there. Yeah.
Him
and AJ Brown we'll get to just because of the Jags. But yeah, CeeDee Lamb, man. 8,800 is obviously a premium tag. I am making room, and I think a lot of people are, because this is where Chase Brown is so important. That's why he's so popular. You start jamming sub 6K running backs, getting CeeDee Lamb in your lineup is easy.
Yeah, man. Highest receiving prop on the slate is CeeDee Lamb. Highest receptions prop is CeeDee Lamb. Pinnacle has it. Obviously, the over is plus money, plus 114. So nothing crazy. 7.5. How often do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, that's banana number. Usually that's like Cooper Kupp territory, and then Nakua has like 30 receptions, but that's another story for another time.
Cooper Kupp last week, when, Puka Nakua had a 21.5-yard receiving prop, which I was on the wrong side of.
Yeah, it was 21.5 receptions was where the books made the mistake. Just a joke of a game.
Joke, man. But whatever. Shout out to Greg, though. He mentioned, like, hey, ladder it to 100. Who knows?
Yeah.
You're getting like 10-1 on 100. Made sense. It was one direction or the other. You're taking a stand one direction or the other. Heavy stand. We took the wrong stand. That's okay. Do you like anything else from Dallas, though? Because CeeDee Lamb obviously stands out. I'm not getting to the backfield very much. Any of these secondary receivers, like I have a little bit of Jalen Tolbert. That's pretty much it. But I am getting to some Ferguson. And I like Ferguson in this game. It's a huge total. I think Dallas wins, by the way.
I do lean Dallas. I haven't seen. I know we have 3.5 on the screen. I have to go to OddsShopper and see. Oh, yeah, there is 3.5s out there. A little extra juice, but that would be my thought as well. Are you getting to Dak at all? Dak +2?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that's kind of how I want to do it. So I'm breaking it up into 2 different thought processes. CeeDee Lamb anywhere. I don't care. If guys like Ferguson are going to the lineups, I'm more likely to just have Dak in there and just have Dak +2.
The only quarterback I have more of with 2-man stacks is Geno right now than Dak.
Okay.
You kind of have to, right? Like, yeah, they've been inefficient. It's been ugly. It sucks, right? It's just been bad. But they still have good enough pass blocking. They still have arguably the best receiver on the planet. And if you want to argue against that, fine, but you're not putting him outside of the top 3, still there. And Ferguson's still good. What's the total in this game? Is it still at 52.5?
It's massive. Let me just go. I'm on OddsShopper right now on the odds screen. We've got a total of 50. Yeah, I mean, it's multiple. There's 51.5 out there. There's also still 52.5 out there. So,
yeah. Look, it doesn't matter. We don't need to split hairs. I like the Dak stacks for sure. Absolutely. Plus, they're not playing at home, which is where apparently they can't perform. So, yeah, I'm fully on board. On the other side with Atlanta, I guess it's a pick your poison. Bijan, Drake London, even some Kyle Pitts, Mooney. I liked Mooney a lot last week.
Great call.
At very little ownership, And I didn't get to much of him. I had enough. I went heavy in the betting markets though, Ben, just receiving yards, touchdowns, all that stuff. But like Ray McLeod's another one of those guys. They're just kind of not using him as much now and going to more Kyle Pitts. Their target shares have actually flipped. Their targets per route run have flipped. We talked about it the other on Wednesday.
Yep.
Over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I believe they've just seen a total flip in opportunities.
And that's something that, there's nuance to it, but yeah, there's no doubt. Kyle Pitts has 19 targets over the last 3 weeks. And Ray McLeod, who was getting a lot of that work, only has 11. That's a stark difference between what we had seen just a few weeks earlier. Obviously, Drake London is still Drake London. Bijan, I know that, stuff like this, at least I think this is just like a bias of mine or just a bias of like human psychology. When you see things, you tend to overrate them. I have seen Bijan now twice have monster touchdown runs called back on holds that I thought were pretty questionable. He's still playing really well. 74, it's creeping up little by little. He was in the mid sixes just a month ago, but if you're going to tell me I get 20 total touches and upwards of a third of them are targets at home against Dallas's defense, I will once again put Bijan comfortably in the pool.
All right. So I don't want to sidetrack the show, but I have a quick question for you.
Please.
We have 725 likes. That means we are, about 3/4 of the way to 1,000. Yeah. We have 1 minute until we reach 11 Eastern with 3,750 people watching. Yeah. Likelihood that we get to 1,000 before we hit 11.
1 minute?
Yeah, in 1 minute.
Yeah, 0%. It's actual 0. What are you talking about?
I'd say it's like even money. People forget and they go, "Oh shit, dude, I forgot to like it. Let me do the boys a solid." There's 250 people out there that are like, "Let me do the boys a solid. Let's get there." What?
No, there's no chance. There's actually no chance. If we crossed 860, that would be stunning.
So it's not, this is not like a bit for you.
Hold on. No, it's not a bit. It's not a bit at all. That's a lot of people to do something.
Okay. All right.
Maybe I am wrong.
All right. Well, we're at 9:53.
All right. Well, it's 11 o'clock. So.
All right. We lost, but,
I'll say this one.
We hit 1,000. No, No, your clock is different than mine.
Oh, because the daylight savings time, you changed the minutes over there in Pennsylvania?
Must be a daylight savings thing.
Yeah, sure. That's not how that works at all. No, that was very impressive, but no.
Oh, will you stop, dude? You didn't think it would get even close to that. It was.
I know. I just said that.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, that's much appreciated. Very impressed. We have the best in the business. The people who support us are just, I couldn't extend my gratitude even more. But let's not change the rules of time to accommodate coffee over here. Let's not get too crazy.
All right. I don't know how to pronounce this, but Fiafal 94 said, "Did the boys a solid?" See, people,
the best.
I know we got the best people out there for sure. Yeah, I think it was like 10:59:58 on my side.
Oh, sure. You're like these F1 pit crews. That get out of here.
It's good stuff. Thanks, guys. All right. Anyway, what are you doing with Atlanta? I feel I have more confidence. I know you talked about it, but just kind of like a little brief roundup here, because I have more confidence kind of where I'm going with Dallas than with Atlanta. I just still hate that Algier is so involved in this offense, man.
It's definitely infuriating, but it's like two things can coexist though. You look at it and you're like, I don't want some backup running back taking 12 carries from my guy. That's infuriating. But on the flip side, if you're going to tell me, okay, we have a gigantic pie, 35, 40 touches, and we're going to divvy it up 75, 25, even though that equates to 10, 12 touches for Algier, I'm saying, great, no problem. I'll take my 20 with Bijan and I'll call it a day. And that's kind of how I feel. I mean, what week for over the last month do you look at Bijan and you say, man, it's a volume issue? I don't see that at all.
No, I get it. I have like 18% Bijan right now, which I'm okay with. It's too good of a shootout potential spot here. Like, are you stacking Kirk though?
I think I mean, listen, it's a great total game in the dome against that. You absolutely can. But no, I don't think. I would rather have Dak and his.
Can I say this much? I
Please.
think if I'm stacking Kirk, it's large field, 3-man mega stacks.
Mega onslaughts. So
Yeah,
it's
because he
interesting.
doesn't, he literally has no mobility, right? Like at all.
Oh, yeah.
But he also spreads the ball around. Yeah, sure, London's the number one, but he still spreads the ball around a little bit more than I'm comfortable with. Dak, it's like, all right, if CeeDee Lamb doesn't get there, forget it anyway. What's it matter? You know? Like Dak, I just feel like my paths to get there are a lot less narrow, or no, more narrow, which is what I want than with Atlanta.
Yeah, it's the kind of game too, and I could be wrong about this, but it feels like if I go Cousins like onslaught, I'm actually gonna look to have like CD maybe in that lineup because I think the game really needs to devolve, like really needs to devolve where Dallas actually has to play ball or vice versa. So if you want to go that route, probably the best game to do it. I still think I'm more interested in just having like a piece of Bijan, a piece of Drake London, and moving on.
I get it. Chammer, this is why chat's so great. Chammer's responded. He said, time is dependent on the position of the observer, Ben. And TJK's Ben, what is time exactly?
Yeah, time is a flat circle. I'll go True Detective season 1 over here.
For sure. All right. Man, what a fun game that's going to be, though. If that shoots out, I mean, you could see a lot of that at the top of tournaments, hands down. New Orleans and Carolina, same with this. I won't even spend a ton of time here. This is what I'm going to tell you. I love Alvin Kamara this week. I've been down on him the last couple of weeks because he's facing teams that can kind of just take him out of the game. Kendra Miller is made of paper mache. He's back on the IR. Jamal Williams is out. I don't really know what their intentions are behind Alvin Kamara. I have a parlay today that is Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, and Chris Olave anytime touchdown, same game parlay lottery ticket. Ben threw it in the Discord.
Say that again.
Kamara, Taysom Hill, and Olave.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw you drop that on your tails.
It was plus 800 everywhere. DraftKings gate plus 1400. Like, look, if it's onslaught, those are the three guys you think get in. And I was thinking about going Kamara 2 touchdowns, but at what, 3-1? So Taysom can vulture the second one? No, sir. I've been on this planet long enough for that to know that they're not doing me many favors there. But from a DFS perspective, Jordan Mims is back. Okay, great. Kamara's going to get a boatload of work. Olave is going to get a ton. I totally made a pivot on this on Tuesday with you when I saw the Olave price when I went 6,100. My God, he's way underpriced with Carr, way underpriced. So Kamara and Olave. I don't love the stacks as much. I don't mind, though, the idea of going Kamara and Olave in the same lineup, no Carr. With Olave's price point being the way it is, you're spending what? What is that? 13? I don't have the price off the top of my head. 13.9 combined?
Yeah, 13.9.
13.9 combined for them against a completely incompetent Carolina defense. I don't have an issue with it, man. That's probably my favorite way to approach this game.
Friend, good guy, Connor asked us, Kamara or Bijan?
For me in this, I like both, but I'm not passing up the volume on Kamara for this game, despite the fact that he has like 18 broken bones or something.
Yeah, that's small. But yeah, I like them both. I want to be clear as well. I'm going to go with Kamara. The Saints just have a lot of things going for them, but there is the Taysom Hill thing, who is just a black hole of orphaned fantasy points. Because when he gets it going, everybody suffers. And that is something to factor in, but everything else checks out really nicely here. I'm not as sold on the Carr situation, but the weapons for New Orleans are some of the strongest on the slate.
I mean, look, if you wanted to play Derek Carr, I'm not faulting you for it either.
Oh, it's playable. You don't need to, though.
You don't have to. I have 5%, but I'll put it to you like this. I have my highest exposed receiver right now is Chris Olave. My second highest exposed running back is Alvin Kamara. And I know because I've looked that I have a lot of these guys in the same lineup today. Like I have a lot of, lineups with both of them in it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, listen, that strategy, we talked about it a little with Cincinnati. I'm fine with it. Are you getting any of the, I guess it's just the tight ends really, like Juwan Johnson or Taysom Hill?
Probably not.
Okay.
You know why though? Because even in a favorable spot, Juwan Johnson still isn't exciting here. And he is cheap. I get that. Is he any better than Grant Calcaterra though? Like, I think I might even like Calcaterra better than Juwan Johnson today. He's just a guy. He's just there. And as far as Taysom Hill goes, I would prefer Hill over Juwan Johnson.
Okay. I think I would too, just because of the dynamic nature of him.
Yeah, I don't hate Taysom Hill, because this might be one of those spots where like we come back and go, oh, of course, the spot where the Saints scored 35 points, Hill was responsible for 3 of their 5 touchdowns. Like, it happens at least twice every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't hate Taysom Hill at 3,800. I don't have a lot of Juwan Johnson. What are you doing on the other side of this with Carolina?
So, I mean, it's Carolina. I'm not really looking to get there. We talked about some pay down stacks already. I'm not doing anything with the stack. It's got to be Hubbard or pass. I mean, the Saints front has been getting gashed on the ground. Game script might not be in your favor, but it's never in their favor. That's almost a bonus. This guy's going to have 15 carries. He just is. And I think a handful of receptions, 6,500. I think you can look to him, but that's about it for me.
I think Jalen Coker's in play too. What?
I mean, no, it's not. It's just, I guess when I look at it, you're like, okay, pay down wide receiver. Would you rather go to him, what I think is going to be a one-off, or would you rather attach like a Burton of the world to someone and one of these better teams?
Yeah, surely if I'm stacking Joe Burrow, sure. Flambookie said Coker propaganda needs to stop. It's not propaganda, dude. I mean, they don't have Adam Thielen. They don't have Deontay Johnson. He thoroughly outplayed Xavier Legette last week and, was on the field a lot. And the Saints are missing the Saints are missing 3 starting cornerbacks today. Paulson Adebo's on the IR. Marshawn Lattimore is out, and McKinstry is out as well. So, like, the Saints all I'm saying is the Saints defense, we talk about how bad Carolina is. Saints defense has been terrible.
Okay. I mean, listen, there should be opportunities for Coker. I don't want to say that there's not, and I'm not even ruling it out. It's more so when I look to guys like that, I want to kind of see what type. I'm interested actually in what type of lineups he will pop up in. Is it because I went and got Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb, and this is the way to do that? Is it I paid up at running back? Is it something different? Because for me, this is a guy. I mean, well, what other options you mentioned? What other options do they really have on the outside?
They don't. They don't have options anywhere. And Legette hasn't proven himself. Sure, he's gotten into the end zone a couple of times, but no, it's tough. I have 7.5% Jalen Coker right now. I'm not going to change that. Perfectly fine with that. Perfectly fine. But you're right. I mean, Chuba Hubbard obviously stands out. That's the guy I have the most of from this team. I'm not getting to anybody else outside of a little bit of Jalen Coker. And I'm not getting to Bryce Young either.
Carolina's going to play better. I think they're potentially a bet at 7.5.
Spread or money line?
Why? I gotta just let it be with the spread.
You sure?
No, you try to bait me into saying things that I'm not ready to say.
Dude, we both liked Cleveland last week. I asked you the same thing.
And I didn't bet him on the money line. It's a lot of good that did, man.
I'm saying you had a chance when I asked you that question to say that you liked them on the money line.
I know. I blew it.
I did bet him against the spread though, so we'll take it. We'll take it. Look, I would need 18 more of those to get even on my Cleveland Brown bets over the last
18.
years.
Yeah, I mean, not gonna 18. They would have to go. And I'll never get even on Cleveland.
All right. Chargers and look at that. Cleveland. 42.5 point total here. DJ Shark was activated from the IR. He's questionable. I don't know if he's going to play. I don't think it really matters all that much. And then you have Quentin Johnston, who's back. I know there's some talk about McConkey. I like him. You're the one that kind of put me onto this guy way earlier in the year, like around the draft. Like, hey, this guy could be really good. I started digging in. The more and more I started to like him. I don't hate him here against Cleveland, but also Denzel Ward, who had the concussion, he's back. I still have a lot of respect for this Browns defense, particularly at home. I'm just not really hitching my wagon to this. I'm not hitching my wagon to even with a couple injuries to this Chargers team against this Browns defense today.
Yeah, no, neither am I. I'm a big fan of Vlad. I actually got to a little last week, which of course worked out. But even so, I want to
Rick had him in his
frame it.
Millie lineup too.
Yeah, well, you needed it. But, let's frame it. The guy scored 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. That'll do it, But when he doesn't score twice, he has games like the previous handful, which is 5 for 46, 4 for 43, 5 for 65, 67, and 3 for 44. And those are decent games if you score, but it's nothing crazy. The Chargers still have the identity that they want to run the ball. I know Dobbins killed a lot of people, me included, I think it was a 2-game slate. It was certainly an isolated night game. You couldn't really get it going. It's starting to get crowded quickly. And I never thought I'd say that about the Chargers pass catchers, but you mentioned like Chark, Johnson's back, Disley's filled in admirably. I mean, with Hurst hurt, the guy had 18 targets over the last 2 weeks, and Herbert quietly has been really good at a low price point. I respect Cleveland. I respect this total. Chargers on the outside looking in for the slate.
The more I look at this game, the most I'm getting to is actually like the Cedric Tillman spots and stuff like that on the other side. Really not getting much Chargers at all. How much Lad do I have? Let's see. I have 15% Lad, and he's pretty much the only guy I'm getting to for the Chargers. Okay. I have some Cedric Tillman, and I'm going to rerun all of this. I have like 5% in Njoku, and I have a little bit of Jerry. I have a little bit of Jerry Jeudy as well. That's the spot you mentioned on Tuesday. I thought you had a great call out there because while I don't have a lot, I have a little bit, and everyone has just anointed Cedric Tillman as the guy, whereas Judy's going to play the entirety of the game. And despite not having the big game last week, he was still heavily involved.
That is dare I say, the Megamind genius play, which is, again, the Venn diagram is right next to an all-time donkey prediction. I love little okay. What the hell is that?
Did you have AI come up with that, Jordan?
What, on the fly?
Oh,
nice. Well, with that in mind, yeah, I mean, Jerry Jeudy, I love spots like this because everything works against him in the game theory aspect. He's more.
Wait, is that Ben's face in there?
Yeah, did you not see? Well, that's why I was like, there's no way he just made that.
Sorry, go ahead. That's
no, just the game theory nature of it. Okay, Jerry Jeudy's more expensive. He didn't pay anybody off last week, and Tillman was the guy last week who is still cheaper than Jeudy. He had 7 for 99 and 2 touchdowns, but Jeudy still had 8 targets. Jameis is not afraid to sling it. I don't think it's a great spot overall, but I don't think that Jerry Jeudy's a crazy by any stretch tournament play, because when people look to Cleveland, I think they are gravitating towards Tillman, and I get why, but I don't think it always has to be that way.
For sure. Tillman at his price is still the better play, but
that's why Jerry Jeudy Megamind is the better play.
I got you. Yeah.
Because he's not the better play. That's the whole
saying.
point.
New England and Tennessee. And you're not playing Nick Chubb this week.
No.
Nope. Drake May cleared concussion protocol. How about all these young guys just popping right back? Pretty crazy. He's going to start. Tajay Spears is out for Tennessee. You would expect Tony Pollard to give it a go here. Mason Rudolph probably going to expected to get another start here as well. Plus, we'll have the 1 o'clock inactives very shortly, in about 15 minutes. So, look, if you wanted to take some shots on the Drake May play or pass catchers there, go for it. This is not a spot that I'm going to be arriving at much at all. I have a trace amounts of someone like Kendrick Bourne. That's it, man. I'm talking like 1% of some of these guys across 150. It's Tony Pollard in this game for me, and that's pretty much it. The only thing that sucks is that, we don't know what Tony Pollard, like, the guy hasn't practiced all week. I don't love that. I really don't love knowing that he has not practiced all week.
Yeah, it's a little concerning for sure. I still think it renders it more a situation where you're looking to Pollard or pass. Like I know Chestnut has been mentioned. I'm not ready to go there unless we got word that both of them were somehow out, and I just don't see that. So I look at Tennessee. It's obviously not one of the better games on the slate. If you're willing to roll the dice, Pollard won't be as popular as he would if there wasn't some murky situation there. And then Ridley, he's been all over the map, but I still think the way I'm projecting this game, the game script is not fantastic. I actually bet Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to look pretty good and control this game. And what'd you say?
So did I.
Okay, well, Tennessee's been a killer on the spread all year. They have just been snatching covers for no reason.
Well, it all started in week 1 too. I mean,
yeah,
I bet him in week 1 against Caleb Williams.
Yep.
As 4-point favorites, and they somehow managed not only to blow a 17-0 lead, but do so while giving up 0 touchdowns to the opposing offense. And not only did they lose outright, but they somehow failed to cover. It's the only time it's ever happened.
Yeah, because that doesn't make any sense. Obviously, just highly disturbing. Yeah, I just. It's not a great game. It would be maybe a one-off of a Titan, maybe the Titans defense. I don't like this game. I like the Titans to win the game though.
Are yes or no, Tony Pollard key piece for you this week?
No.
Is it the injury that concerns you?
Yeah, I mean, I think just it's the injury just coupled with my classic, you're trying to parlay something when I'm trying to make straight bets. Like he has to be okay. We don't know. I think he's all right. Then he has to play well. Then he has to outplay the other mid-range running backs.
Like, does Julius Chestnut just end up getting more involved because Pollard literally hasn't practiced once this week?
More involved, yes. Enough to play Joey Chestnut.
No. Enough to make Pollard not a good play.
That, again, these are little edges that are being eroded.
That's my concern.
Yep.
Big time. I do have some Tony Pollard, not a guy. You want to talk about a guy that won't decide my week? Tony Pollard.
Yeah, that's fair.
Tony Pollard. Jacksonville at Philadelphia. Okay, let's do it. By the way, shout out Ben. We have 4,100 people with us today.
Very.
41. Yeah. Appreciate it. You guys are the best. Thanks for hanging out with us. And hey, we mentioned the Mill promo, kind of in honor of Rick, who took down the Millie as a Stokastic sub rock in the avatar. The Mill promo, the link's down there. 30% off any package, a week or a month that you want. Just click that, join the one you want, and when you check out, use MILL. Or, listen, you want to hear this. What if I told you, Ben, that first link in the description, Jordan can throw it in chat as well. That first link in the description, okay, go to the website instead, Jordan. I don't like this graphic for this. The first link, if you sign up at any of our sportsbook partners, whether it's BetMGM, Caesars, Bet365, or any of the pick'em providers too. Like, let's say you're in a non-legal betting state. You're in one of those shitty states that still refuses to give you sports betting, but you have pick'em. Sign up on any of them with that link, right? You'll see claim offer. You simply click that, takes you there. It takes a minute to sign up, kind of instantly verify yourself, right? And once you do so, make the deposit and put that bet on whatever it is you want. The moment that bet settles, like you could do it on a live bet today. I say it all the time with Bet365. The moment it settles, take a screenshot of that settled bet and your welcome email and email us at support@stokastic.com a full month, free month of our core package for any single sport, $100 value. And when I say that, I mean not just for one sports book, but for any. I know a ton of you guys have jumped in on this because I'm getting the DMs left and right. If you were to go, I want to go Bet365. So Bet365, you collect your 200 in bonus bets, and you're getting all of those Thursday night bonus bet promos. You want to get a free month of core, right? With it includes sim, single lineup sim, boom, bust, all of our tools. But then you also sign up at Caesars and BetMGM and say you're not on FanDuel yet. That's 4. You collect all of their bonuses. You probably spent in total like $30, $35. And now you stacked 4 full months of core. So that's a $400 value of core plus all the bonus bets. So net there, Ben, bonus bets and core package value, you're looking at like $600-700, no more, like $800 just in net. I won't say earnings because that's not what it is. Bonus bets plus the packages. So no better way to get access to our tools than this right now. There's never been a better way to get access to our top tier packages than this right now.
It's amazing. It's just been, again, I know a lot of you have already done this because we've seen, shout out to our man News God behind the scenes taking care of all of this in the support email, but just a great time. And it's what we always wanted, which is to bring the tools to everybody in an easy way, and to just really increase the edges and the amount of ways that you can utilize them.
Yeah, man. Come join us. Discord is available for any package too, for free. So just jump in and say what's up, join the community. But yeah, best way to do it. The only thing you need to know, you got to use that claim offer button right there to get it. Otherwise it doesn't work. Jacksonville at Philly, 46-point total. Philly, 7.5-point favorites. I've done some boost to Philly in the tools today. And that might be the death. No, not the death of me, because it's not like my slate is hinging on that. But no Dallas Goedert today. If Philly ends up just coming in against this Jacksonville pass defense and lights them up, I want some pieces back. Even if it's like Jalen plus AJ and Calcaterra, Jalen plus Devontae and Calcaterra, or the one guy I'm getting the least of is Barkley, just because of that price point and the opportunity cost there. It could be a Barkley game and everything goes to shit. Or it could be like Barkley destroys the slate or destroys the game from a rushing standpoint, but then Hurts rushes everything in and it's a wash. But I did want to get a little bit over the exposure that I was at when I did my first Sims run and get a little more Philly than I had, because this could be a game where they go crazy.
Definitely. I mean, the Eagles are in a great spot. It's difficult because unlike some of the teams we talked about, their weapons, like, good luck trying to allocate salary for an onslaught with Hurts. Like, that's just not going to work. There's just too much. They'd have to score like 60 points. So you have great spots. I love AJ Brown, just an absolute monster, but it's still Saquon who can break any slate. It's still Jalen Hurts who showed us last week. They will run the tush push every time. They're not going to say, well, let's get Saquon one. Like, they'll just keep doing it time and time again. So I like the Eagles a lot. I like this game a lot. I think that the Jags are an interesting pay down stack. If we get a little clarity on their receiver situation, I'm going to try to force in a little Jalen Hurts and see what we can get.
How
Not
much
cash
Lawrence,
viable, though.
How much Lawrence do you have right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lawrence is in that bucket. Again, I'm going to rerun things after this show, but to me, if you're talking about the pay down options, you mentioned Minshew a little bit. He's in this Dak price range. I like the spot. I know the Eagles have made some strides. There's no doubt about it, but just on a pure volume situation and the stack salary due to the injuries has really come down. You're probably going to be utilizing a tight end there with Ingram. I get it. I want to, and we'll answer this super chat in a second about cash. These are not cash viable plays, but for tournaments, I think the Jags are really interesting.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Oh, Amare's out.
Yeah, Amari Cooper being out. I think I start to like Keon Coleman a little bit more here.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes it a little easier to decipher what we're doing over there.
Yeah. I'm with you on Lawrence. I don't have much right now, but I'd be okay just, in the event that this game gets back and forth. But I'll tell you, I said it, Quinyon Mitchell's good. DeJean, I think, is only improving. The secondary just continues to look better for Philly, Ben. And that's what I don't love about it. But yeah, Gabe Davis is they're calling him a long shot to play. So if he doesn't play, Brian Thomas does play. Christian Kirk is on the IR. You're talking, what would you be looking at here? And before we move on, would it be like a Thomas Ingram, or would you be going to some Parker Washington there as a cheap guy?
Yeah, I think he's now in the discussion with these Burton and Coker characters.
Okay.
More of a stack attachment for sure, but yes.
Parker Washington's just kind of there, which is the same thing as Coker, like you're saying. I would imagine that's exactly what you're getting at. He's just kind of there, yeah. Right?
He's just there. But if you're there, that's step one. If you're just on the field, like, that's step one with this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. For sure. For sure. Wow. How about that?
What?
Did they really make Jermaine Burton healthy? That's why. Is that right?
No. That'll make it tougher. Again, just being there, step one. He didn't clear step one.
That's why you can't take. That's why you can't take coach speak.
Isn't that the truth? You know, if he was active, and it's amazing how that works.
Yep. By the way, Brandon Cat says dumb take by Ben.
Well, I don't know what he's referring to, but it's an evergreen statement, so I won't take that too much to heart.
All right. And by the way, guys, Matt Gajeski, just saw him in chat. Hello, Matthew. And Eric Lindquist coming up right after this. Yeah, Philly's the spot for me that I like the most. They're difficult to get to, but I want some pay up Philly stacks just in case, Ben. And I think Calcaterra unlocks a little bit too, as crazy as that sounds. Guy played almost every snap last week. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is nuts. We did have a super chat I wanted to answer from Bill, who was saying, "Thanks, guys. You're quite welcome." But he was saying, "Are there any plug-in cash players today? Need to do cash to support my continued work to get better in tournaments." So obviously with cash, you're looking at more floor stuff. To me, obviously Chase Brown and Kamara, I think are really solid. If you could go get CD, Gesicki comes to mind. Just those type of players would be what I'd be looking at, particularly those backs.
Shout out to our social media director, Nolan Kelly. Brian Robinson is out. He just tweeted, "I'll be back stronger." So that's big. This live, we're gonna let Live Before Lock cover all this. So make sure to stick around. You're gonna want to stick around for these inactives. Live Before Lock will cover all that because we don't have the time to do so. But that's a big deal.
Huge. Now, Eric Lindquist, I will shout him out right now. He messaged me yesterday and he said, Eckler. If Robinson sits, and I think he might, that's big value. I gave him a couple horses. It was a transactional message, but yeah, that's a big piece of the puzzle.
Big time. So yeah, you want to stay right here. Keep that ass planted in the seat, or don't. Put on your AirPods and whatever you have. Walk around with your phone. Bears, Arizona. Bears 2-point dogs. This one swung, by the way, because I was talking about leaning Arizona plus 1.5 earlier in the week. Now they're favored. Do you like this game from a DFS perspective?
Yeah, I do. Both directions, okay, actually.
Talk to me. Let's hear it.
So I think that, we've seen flashes of it from Caleb Williams. The nice thing about it, ample weapons to pair him with, from the tight end to DJ Moore, who would be my favorite. You don't have to go to the stack either. You could just go to Swift, 18 for 129 and a touchdown last week. No targets, but that's atypical. The guy had 13 targets over the last 3 before that. Arizona, I don't really know. I'll be honest. I don't know how good they are. I don't think it really matters. The defense still is more than gettable. The game's in Arizona. That'll work weather-wise, of course, for obvious reasons. I just like Chicago. I think they grade out nicely across the board. I don't have a firm grasp on kind of the hierarchy, but I don't think at the same time these are going to be crazy popular plays either. This is going to be a very low-owned stack. So if you're looking, for a portfolio of stacks for large field tournaments, don't forget about the Bears today.
Okay. Eric said Eric, was it Dumlau says Ben is the ultimate Jags truther.
Truer words have never been spoken. That is guilty as charged.
And it all started with Evan Ingram. Now you're just tethered to that forever,
Yeah.
All right.
There are worse things, but not many.
I don't have much Chicago right now, but it is.
Nobody does. That's the thing.
It is curious that you'd bring this up for sure. In a good way. Like there's something potentially there, because Caleb's been all over the map. And when he has those big games, you want to have a piece of it.
Yeah. Again, I want to be clear. The Bears are not my favorite stack at all. But if you told me, okay, instead of having for every 5 Dallas stacks you have 4 and 1 of the Bears, like that makes sense to me.
Are you going to Marvin Harrison Jr. or James Conner this week?
I think you can, because honestly, just to flip the game, Kyler is done a lot of the same thing in terms of like flashes, man, and it hasn't been all just rushing. Now he's got crazy rushing upside. He's got 5 games of 45 or more rushing yards out there and couple scores on the ground, but he has also thrown the ball 30 or more times in 5 of these games. So I think you could do that. It's just tough because he's still to me a little overpriced. Like you need a game from Harrison.
Yeah, you do.
I like
He's
McBride though.
The volume just hasn't been there. Like he's been efficient, but the volume hasn't been there. Not a priority for me. Same with James Conner. I do have 13% Conner though. It's a run funnel defense. So I'm with the field on Conner and I feel perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to get the majority of work. Chicago much better at stopping the pass than they are the run. At home, slight favorite, James Conner. Sure. He's my favorite play from Arizona. That's what I'd say.
That's fair.
All right. Detroit and Green Bay. Here's some actives from Adam Schefter. Pollard, Boyd, Samuel, inactives, Levis, Higgins, Moss, Jermaine Burton, Amari Cooper, Javon Holland on that Miami defense. Brian Robinson, DJ Shark. Okay, he's inactive. Dante Foreman. All right. Hold on a second. So Dante Foreman's out? Okay, right. But Jerome Ford is back. So that doesn't change anything. All right. Detroit and Green Bay. Yes, weather here for sure. For sure. We've got weather in this game, Ben.
Okay.
How much does something like this affect you when you're talking about pretty significant weather issues going on? A lot of wind, a lot of rain, chilly, but not like you're getting terrible, terrible temperatures.
Definitely affects it. I mean, stuff like that, I think it's more impactful the larger you talk about. 12-game slate, ton of options. You don't get a discount. You might get an ownership discount, but you don't get a discount on the price. You don't get a discount on being a hero for trying to play through it when other guys are in a dome. So for that reason, these are tough teams to get to in general. Green Bay, we've talked about ad nauseum how many weapons they have. It's just been impossible with the target share that these guys are getting. You've got Jacobs on the ground. And then Detroit, I still think if you wanted to tell me you want to get some St. Brown because he's such a good player, sure. And Gibbs has been unbelievable in that backfield. But to me, there are clear better plays at all the price points.
Yeah, right. And it's still a 48.5 point total game. So don't get it.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a crazy, it's impossible to score.
I'm not saying that either at all. But, Jared Goff has a 209.5 passing prop, which is pretty low. Granted, they can run the football as well. But I don't know. Jared Goff outside of the dome in an elements spot, not always my favorite places to get to. I'll be completely honest with you here.
No doubt.
It's a tough spot. St. Brown, I think, is just always viable. Plus, if the weather is bad, who better to lean on than Amon-Ra St. Brown?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. You're not just going to... The problem with Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't just the weather. It's that he has to outscore, the CeeDee Lambs and Chases and AJ Browns of the world who don't have to play in that type of weather.
Yep, you're absolutely right. I like him, but he's one of my lower owned guys up top. I can say that. I have a lot more AJ Brown and Jamar than I have Amon-Ra right now. And a lot more CeeDee Lamb. That should go without saying. Are you on the same page?
100%. CeeDee, I mean, different class within the same tier.
And as I say every week, and people, always get upset with me, I have basically no backfield for Detroit. I have 2 Jahmyr Gibbs lineups. He's fantastic. Without question, the guy is amazing. It's just I can't get that price point when you've got a 2-headed monster in the backfield and so many mouths to feed. That's all it comes down to, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's incredible. He has 5 touchdowns over the last 4 games. And despite that, there's only one game where he really blew up. He had other quality games, but
Montgomery went out for a bit in that game too.
The margins are incredibly narrow with the way they utilize him.
What are you doing from Green Bay? Because this is
Nothing.
I am basically nothing here. Plus, I have some concerns about that groin injury for Jordan Love too.
I just have concerns up and down the board. I do think that, again, not that this is, but I think Detroit kind of just shows that they are the clear team in the North today.
Oh, yeah? You think they
Yeah,
come in and handle business at Lambeau today?
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong, but
I'm on the other side of that just because I have a lot of faith in Matt LaFleur, but we'll see.
I hope Green Bay wins.
I don't have really any Green Bay though.
No, it's just it's very very difficult when your lead guy and just look at Reed's target share, and that kind of illuminates the entire situation.
Yeah, it does. All right. Let's go. John said, why y'all so high on CD? Falcons D will key on him all day. John Prince. Because they also allow more receptions to opposing receivers than any team in the league. They allow higher completion percentage to opposing receivers than any team in the league. So keying in on him or not, the way this defense plays lines up very nicely for you don't often see a guy with a 7.5 receptions prop, Ben.
Yeah, I mean every team
keys on
yeah, and he still has monster games. So I get it. I don't think it's crazy to ask, but it's the Niners want to take him away, and he had 13 for 146 and 2.
Right. Teams key on Jamar, they key in on AJ, they key in on Tyreek Hill. Yeah. Now I get what he's saying because CD is like the only guy there.
100%. Totally reasonable.
About, but still, they find ways to get him the ball. Like there's no doubt San Francisco was doing that last week and he had 10 receptions. Let's wrap it up. Turn it over to Matt and Eric. Rams 1.5 point favorites at Seattle, 48 point total. Listen, I have a lot of Geno right now. DK Metcalf is out. Divisional spot, high total in this game. It sucks not having Metcalf. He's a true freak of nature. I love that guy. But when you have guys like Lockett and JSN and Noah Fant's out as well, so Barner's going to come into play. I think the Sims are just feeding me some of this because it's opening up some really real big flexibility in these spots, and that's what it is. Like you don't have to love all of these players, but the price points are so conducive to being able to build mega lineups in the event that this game plays to this total.
100%. I guess I just want to ask you real quick, with the pay down wide receivers we've talked about, from obviously Burton's not a factor now, but Parker Washington, there are a couple others. Is Bobo in that conversation?
I think he's viable. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in Geno stacks,
Poker.
like if we're talking about it with stacking, sure, he played 76% of snaps last week. He's running routes on, majority of dropbacks. JSN, Lockett, and Bobo. There's no Noah Fant now. Laviska Shenault's not getting any significant amount of work on the offense, and Noah Fant's gone. So like AJ Barner comes in and plays a role, sure, but it's the product of this slate, man. That's all it is. It's the nature of this slate, especially when you've got expensive guys like CeeDee Lamb and Alvin Kamara and some of these other guys that you're going to want to get into your lineups. Yeah, I have a good amount of Geno today at home.
Yeah, and again, it's pretty easy to see why, because if you go Seattle stack, you have the money to allocate to elite pivots, or not even pivots, more one-offs. And so that's going to be something I'm there too. I'll get rid of the Rams quickly. I don't understand why this wide receiver situation has been a joke with some of what they're doing. Kyron's going to get his. I mean, the guy is a volume machine. He's very expensive and he's in Seattle, so it's not a super appealing team. I don't have Stafford.
Okay. I don't have Stafford either. Favorite way to play this game then before we turn it over?
Oh, Geno stack.
It is. Okay, so we're on the same page with this.
It really works. If I had to take one off, I think it would actually be Lockett, but him and JSN are in the same bucket.
Are you fading the, moving target with Puka and Cooper Kupp?
Yes. I think if you think you have a good read on that, my honest advice would be to look to ladder it in the betting markets and isolate the upside.
Definitely. Hey, always a fun show, man. How about us getting to 1,000 likes before 11 a.m. Eastern?
And that's not true, but right at 11, which was incredibly impressive. Just appreciate everybody. Hope to see you guys just in the community, in the Discord. Say what up to us, either on OddShop or Stokastic. I'm not going to predict back-to-back Millie winners, but I damn sure hope it happens.
Me too, man. Hey, you guys are the best for real. For all 4,300 of you watching with us right now, appreciate you. Follow Ben at JazzRaz DFS, me at Lafayette_D. Remember, BOGO, BOGO, if you want to join us in the betting space, links down there. Just sign up with either one of ours and actually just go to Tails. You'll see it. Sign up with Ben, sign up with mine. Use BOGO, BOGO. Get the full month free for the either one. So buy one, get one free. With Ben, get mine free. Mine, get Ben's free. Come say what's up in the Discord. We've had an awesome season. We've had a great time. Ben's hitting the college football streets and a bunch of other stuff. I'm going heavy in NFL. Get the best of both worlds. If you're into betting and not just DFS and you want to kind of do both, well, we got you covered. BOGO is the promo. Join either one. It doesn't matter. You get the other one for free for the entirety of the month. Eric, Matt coming up next. Thanks to Jordan for producing, and we'll catch you back here for the next one. Peace.
Good.
Jordan.
I bet you can't handle this jelly. Can't handle this jelly. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to NFL Live Before Lock. It's week 9. It's daylight savings time. Hopefully you enjoyed an extra hour of sleep, unless you're in Arizona, in which case, F you. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Would love to have you guys all here on the channel if it's your first time. We got 4,000 people already kicking it here. Ooh, must not be a Europe game. Must not be, but next week we'll have that back in our lives with Germany. I think we're going to Germany. That'll be good times. But this is Good Times with my friend Matt Kajeski. Tons of news to get to, so we'll make it quick. How you doing, my dude?
I am doing well. Yeah, excited for the slate today. It's a bigger slate because of the things you mentioned. No international series, only 2 teams on bye. More news than I can remember in the recent history, I guess, of NFL. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Obviously, I knew this was coming down the pipeline. Jump in on 17.5 receiving yards over on DK, 20.5 if you have FanDuel. I don't really care where it is. But Brian Robinson Jr. is out, and that has completely changed the slate. I think it turns it completely on its head purely because we kind of have precedent for this. We know exactly what ended up happening. Yesterday, you had Chris Rodriguez get upgraded to the practice squad. I kind of tweeted it out. I talked about it for a long time. Basically said, I know that they're saying Brian Robinson Jr. is going to play football, but he is officially not. And Austin Eckler is 5,300 on DK, specifically on FanDuel. I'm not playing today purely because I knew that there was going to be some crazy piece of news that ended up popping up. But regardless, Austin Eckler's price over there is 5,500. We're talking about the best tournament play that we've had in a long time, probably since the memorable slate last season where Kyren Williams, 15 minutes before that slate locked, got announced that they were going to make Cam Akers inactive for the Rams. Cam Akers gets shipped off to Minnesota, and Kyren Williams has been a thing ever since. But Matt Kajeski, I'll get to the rest of the news here first, but what are you doing with Austin Eckler specifically?
I anticipate playing a lot of him. We just don't see the field react to this. And I'm still waiting for some information from our tools, like running things, seeing how they look, because where we project him in our final ownership run is going to be important for me. If he's at like 1%, which is where he was prior to this, then, play him in almost everything you possibly can. But if this ends up being like 10% or something, then it'll be a conversation because there are alternatives. Chase Brown's the thing still. You can play them both. playing one doesn't mean you have to eliminate the other, but still just waiting on some information with this.
Yep, still waiting on some information, but I think when we come to the flip, Austin Eckler is going to be my highest owned running back, even a little bit more than Chase Brown, who I'm jamming as well. I think both of them are unbelievable. I was telling you before this show, I ended up jamming a ton of cash lineups. If you guys want to go scoop some head-to-heads over on DraftKings.com, Elin D4, enjoy. Would be happy to have you today. I can guarantee you one thing, Chase Brown and Austin Eckler will be in that lineup. There is no way around it. I have zero qualms about it. They are the two best point per dollar running back plays, and I don't think it's close. And we'll talk about McNichols for tournaments. He's a flat 4K. I think that there's at least something there against the Giants. But let's get to the rest of the news because there was a ton of it. Jermaine Burton, he's inactive. That's going to matter. He played 41% of the snaps last week. I know that was something that Lofty alluded to, something that I threw into the chat there where there's no doubt about it. Jermaine Burton, he seems like a talented wide receiver, but he apparently isn't doing the stuff to get on the field as much as what he should. And in fact, going to be inactive makes me feel a little bit better about taking some shots on Yoshivas. Not going to be the jam that he was last week. So congratulations to him on his 25 fantasy points this time around. Of course, T. Higgins inactive as well on the Cincinnati side of things. They go from the #1 EPA offense with T. Higgins on the field to number 27. That is something from Bill Barnwell over on ESPN. Yes, I have cited my sources when I start bringing up this stuff here from now on because I like to give credit where it's due. Tony Pollard, he is active for this one along with Tyler Boyd. DJ Chark of the Chargers, DJ Chark. He is inactive. Week 9, that's going to be an interesting one if you're looking at your Ladd McConkeys and your Quentin Johnstons of the world. We got Bryce Young. He's expected to be the starter here and going forward if he plays well enough. Good luck to you. New Orleans is a good draw for that. Amari Cooper, massive piece of inactive ability. I don't know. It's not a word. Amari Cooper going to be inactive. And then Puka Nacua will play after dinging up his knee on Thursday. We'll get to the ins and outs of that one. Xavier Legette, rounding it all out. He is active as well for Carolina, which I think makes Mr. Jalen Coker look a little bit worse, although he is cheap. He is a viable punt. No questions about it. Anything you would like to add, Matt, before we dive into quarterback?
Nope. The only ones that matter are Eckler, Amari Cooper, and Jermaine Burton. Everything else we already knew about.
Correct. Now we begin. Fight. This is going to just be a completely different slate, completely different whatsoever. It's almost hilarious. This is like feeling like an NBA slate to some extent where everything that you worked on all week long almost doesn't matter because the running back position looks so different with just one piece changed. But we go to quarterback, and now we have some upside options that we have more access to. When you have two sub 6K running backs, that should be the highest in your portfolio, the way that they're going to be for mine. I'm going to have more access to get to these ceilings than what I had before this show started. And that's going to be two guys specifically, Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. I think they're both in phenomenal spots. Lamar Jackson's it's a difficult defense in Denver here, but maybe that forces them to pass it around a little bit more. He has an injury, but the ownership isn't really going to be there. And then Jalen Hurts gets Jacksonville, which I don't know really what you want me to say other than it's Jacksonville. And yeah, he's got expensive options in Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown. He's got Calcaterra down at the cheap end as he pivot off of Jasicki and company. Oh boy, I love them too for upside quarterback options here on the spend ups. Do you find interest in those two as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's just really hard to talk about right now without our ownership updated. So I truly don't know how much I'll get to them. If you want me to say they're good plays, I mean, probably the two best quarterbacks on the slate, but it's a dynamic situation with pricing and ownership. And I just don't have, like prior to this, before we got the news, I was getting almost none of them. But I imagine it'll at least be a little bit higher. So I guess the answer is I have more interest now, and we will wait and see.
Not a lot, baby girl, just a little bit. You could head to the crib in a little bit. I can show you.
Yeah, I mean, before, to cut you off from that nonsense song, before you basically had to play Chase Brown and then probably two expensive running backs, or at least one mid, one expensive. Now you can play two cheap guys. So you do have extra salary, but I just don't know if the answer is going to expensive QB or not. So I'm waiting on some sim stuff.
So should we just sit here?
I don't know, man. I almost want to say the answer is probably not, unless the quarterback is Lamar. For reference, the difference in projections between some of these players, even in like the 5 or 6K range, is pretty minimal. Like Joe Burrow, he projects like 2 points 2.5 points less than Josh Allen. And then the pricing on the slate is such that a guy like Gardner Minshew is all the way at 4,500. I mean, it's a 10-point gap between these guys, but Lamar is almost double his price. So DraftKings did a fantastic job with pricing where you at least need to think about a guy like Minshew, even if you hate him. And that's why we need updated tools, man. It's going to be a tough decision.
Yep, we're going to get the updated tools. I think it's important that you get this run right the first time, because I reran everything on my end. I, build out a sheet every single week from a betting angle and then use that to inform my DFS stuff. I have Austin Eckler projected for 19 fantasy points. He is going to be my highest on running back. I have Chase Brown at 18.2 fantasy points. He's going to be my second highest on running back, and I'm going to be jamming both. I think getting access to the ceilings now is a lot easier than what it was before the show. And I love Jaden Daniels for tournaments. Don't get me wrong. Jaden Daniels is the dude. The rushing upside, no real questions about it after he was running basically right out of the gate against Chicago. Didn't have the best performance, but I mean, we're talking about a dude who's been lighting the world on fire since he got into this league. I think the rushing equity with him still had 8 for 52 last time out, and that was a little bit forced by a Chicago defense that was really, really nifty. And the Giants have been a better defense than anticipated, but they're a terrible football team, and Daniel Jones exists. Maybe put him behind the sticks a couple of times. And, well, Jaden Daniels looks awfully good at 7,500 to me as well. Plus, the Eckler combination, I think this game environment got really, really interesting to me, just with a cheap running back and being able to consolidate some of those touches to primarily one guy, but also McNichols would be mixing in, and I'm going to want some of that for tournaments here as well. But God, I love getting to everybody up here with no Amari Cooper. Obviously, most weeks this season, we've had no Amari Cooper for Buffalo because, well, he wasn't there. But now 7,700 for him. Khalil Shakira looks all right to me, but I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to get to any Josh Allen when it's all said and done. I feel like I should. I feel like I should just be spending up for all of these dudes if I'm playing as much Eckler as I'm planning on.
I'm debating that or receiver, man. Like, there's a lot of really good receivers on the slate. And I would rather not mess around in the really bad range, which I had a fair amount of those guys before. So right now, my lean, without having seen the updated tools, is pay up for receiver and just play this mid-range of QBs, which was really, really strong to begin with. Among the expensive guys, Josh Allen, he does project pretty well. He projects better than Jalen Hurts price adjusted. They're essentially at the same projection. It's close. Daniels, I think, is just an upside play. The total in that game is pretty low. It's 44.5. New York has a good front seven, primarily from their defensive line, which could kind of be boiled down to one good player in Dexter Lawrence. But Daniels has been excellent at evading pressure with his legs. I don't really have any concerns with him at this point after he squashed the injury last game. You mentioned his rushing stats, over 50 yards on the ground. I still don't think either of these defenses are pretty good. They've both played above expectation, but I would not be surprised if this went over.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I'm very, very excited about it. I'm also very excited that we got the tools updated. We're going to get updated ownership here in a second, but we got the projections. Would you like to take a guess on Austin Eckler?
We've had projections, so I've seen that. He's awesome.
Yeah.
We just don't have ownership. So I don't know.
The ownership is very fluid for what it's worth. We have 65 minutes here before lock, 64. Look at that. I'll just do a countdown the rest of the time, but 64 minutes to lock. And I'm very, very, very positive that Austin Eckler will end up double digits, but not nearly as high as he should have been owned had this news come out yesterday or, even like 3-4 hours ago. I mean, we saw Yeshivas get steamed up to north of 10%. We saw Cedric Tillman, who, was a talking point all of last week. And, well, sure enough, he ended up being the must-have piece of the entire slate, basically. But I look at everything with Austin Eckler here at 5,300, and it's going to dictate me getting to the spend-ups here. I don't really want to be paying down at quarterback. I think Geno Smith, he'll still be popular and over-owned. I don't really want to be going that direction. Gardner Minshew, I'm going to have 0% of. Yes, 0% of at this point. I really don't find a reason to be taking shots on him if I'm going to be playing as much of him as possible. But at the running back position, I think that there's a ton of third guys to be intertwining. Maybe trying to find ways to flip builds where you spend up at running back. I mean, we could see Henry and Saquon so cheap, but I primarily am going to be getting to the expensive wide receivers and the expensive quarterbacks. That is going to be the way the cookie crumbles. We did have a super chat right out of the gate. Safe Din Super, $4.99. Hi, thoughts on Rudolph at QB to pay up for studs? Absolutely not.
I got some of him. I don't like it. It's the exact same conversation we briefly had with Minshew. DraftKings made a choice to price all these guys way down, probably because they were like 0.5% owned in all the contests. But you at least need to consider a guy who's going to start for a team and play most of the snaps, if not all. Just not sure that Rudolph ever is going to have a long leash, but I don't think that's as viable now that we got Eckler. Same thing with Minshew, and really insert any guy who's below 5K at QB. But I actually did get some in the first run of Sims. I imagine that will be mostly gone when our tools get updated for this current run.
And the tools are updated. Our fearless leader, Tom Kennedy, behind the scenes CEO, and also better at DFS than all of us. Tom Kennedy,
that is
just
true.
Hit me up, hit us up. Yeah, the dude's an absolute freak. All you need to do is go to the results page anywhere on any given day. And there's Tom JK hanging up at the top. But anywho, enough of that. We're going to go on to building out some lineups here and just pull up the Sims right out of the gate here. Go to the data hub if you could. It looks a little bit cleaner, a little bit better for the people. And I just want to take them down a little bit of a tour of what we got updated, Jordan Klein. What? Oh, okay. Well,
we got 23% Eckler.
You have the filters. You have 3 lines. You have the filters on, brah. Broski, take the filters off in the corner. Oh. Okay. Well, that's fun. Anyway, we will do this. I'm going to continue on here on my end. And yeah, go ahead and pull up that ownership for the people. I want you to have you hit refresh, and I want you to pull up Austin Eckler. AUSTIN EKELER. Look at that. I can spell for Jordan Klein. I guess it's not like pictures where you get the accent marks and it's a thing in the spreadsheet, but Austin Eckler on DK updated 12 seconds ago here. I want people to see that ownership. That is going to be a very, very important thing. So we've got that. He is currently 23%. If I'm looking at the same thing as you are, 23% Austin Eckler ain't enough. I'm going to be getting to much, 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 much more of that in the Sims. I'm just about done with my first run, and I'll be able to tell you exactly what I'm getting at here because 16.5, I'm a little bit higher on Austin Eckler. I guess I can take that down and meet him in the middle, right around the 18 number, but there's no doubt about it. One of the best plays of the slate, irrelevant of just about anything besides salary ownership. I mean, everything across the board looks awesome for him. I know that that's a huge talking point of today. And we'll bring Chase Brown into the discussion at running back. But let's round out quarterback here. Just wanted to show people 23%. That's the first run, first number. That will be updated over the course of the next hour here, kind of seeing what happens across the industry, seeing exactly where we want to land as we build out more lineups in the Sims, 10,000 simulations. And hey, right now, any NFL DFS package, if you want to build for the next hour with us, code MILL, M-I-L-L. It's at the top of your screen. It is 30% off right now using that code. Get the Sims, get the single lineup simulator, which is going to be gigantic for today. Use the contest generator, build out your pool, and then fire it all up. Again, 30% off. And I don't know what I would do on this show building lineups if I didn't have it. I remember the days of just using, Cruncher or anything else, optimizer, insert here. And I would basically just try to be firing these up on shows 3-4 years ago, Matt. How much easier is life with the Sims doing the hard work for us now?
Yeah, it's awesome. You get instant feedback. So all your intuitions, you can actually test them. That's why I'm putting such a heavy emphasis on it. And anyone can come on here and tell you that Lamar Jackson's a good play. Like if the season ended today, the guy is going to win MVP. They're a massive, massive favorite over Denver. So you have one of the highest implied team totals on the slate. A defense which has been relatively weak, and it hasn't mattered for Lamar anyway. Like it doesn't require any skill to tell you that stuff. What it does require skill to do is evaluate where he is versus his price, his projection, and where other people are going to play him. And our sim tool has basically been built to do that for you. So you no longer have to guess. You can adjust it for your field size, whatever tournaments you're actually playing, and just run it and you get the instant feedback. So I just got through my first run and I ended up with, looks like just a sprinkling of Lamar still. I'm going to cross-reference this with the receivers. I thought I might get more of those players just to begin with, but right now it looks like still getting the quarterbacks in like the mid-range, which we haven't talked about yet. And I think that's largely just because the receivers also project well. The stacks we were already using are primarily like Dallas, Atlanta, Seattle, some of those. And it didn't really change all that much at the QB position for me.
Yeah, it changed a little bit for me. That is for sure, because I was going to be going into this range a lot. And I'm still going to get there, but I'm not going to have as much as I was anticipating. I'm, of course, referring to Dallas, Atlanta. I'm looking at Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, this game environment. It's one that if it goes completely ballistic, the way that a 52.5, 51.5 total can go ballistic, you're probably going to want them in some capacity. So, I mean, it comes down to, for me, utilizing the Sims tool. And again, promo code MIL, 30% off to be able to fire this up alongside of us here. My first run has a lot more of those expensive quarterbacks, about 8-10% in the aggregate if I'm looking at
like
my previous run.
Lamar, Hurts, like those guys.
Lamar, Hurts, and then I'm really not getting to Allen, which sucks because I think that target share is so much more consolidated. I like Kincaid now as a contrarian tight end. I wasn't going to play him if Amari Cooper was going to be in there. I just think it gets a little bit thin. They want to keep Amari Cooper involved, but that risk is obviously a deal. And Khalil Shakira definitely took a step up here for me. The guy was already commanding a pretty large target share, and now going up against Miami here, Keon Coleman, who started to show some of the flashes of upside that he was promised coming out of Florida State, I believe. Was it Florida State he was at back in the day?
Yeah, he went to Michigan State for a few years, then transferred to Florida State for his final year.
Only you would know that, and I love that about you. But we've got ourselves a pretty interesting situation with some spend-ups here. But now this mid-range, does it go a little bit under-owned relative to his chances of... I'm just looking at the boom bust tool, which isn't something that I usually pull up for a lot of circumstances anymore because the Sims tool does such a great job of encapsulating both of those proximities, like the boom and the bust situations. But, I mean, Dak Prescott, I don't think he'll go under-owned, but Kirk Cousins potentially, with all of the pass catchers there, it's kind of like tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme. Kirk Cousins +2 win money. How do you feel about them in the mid-range?
I think that's completely fine to get to. He just doesn't project quite as well as Dak on the other side of the game. And it's getting close to a point in difference. And then Dak is cheaper. He's also easier to stack. And now you have the money to get to CD Lamb. So I still got more Dak stacks. And I think that's the rationale why behind it. I mean, you don't fear either defense. If you're talking about tournaments specifically, I do agree with you that Kirk Cousins looks pretty nice based on his ownership. And he's also pretty easy to stack. A little tougher than Dak because you don't always know where it's going, especially since we've had this Kyle Pitts resurgence. But a lot of those players are cheap. You could even go all the way down to like a Ray McLeod if you want. While he's not being targeted as often, he's still on the field quite a bit. So there's those avenues as well. Whereas with Dak, I don't think it's quite as easy to play the cheap guys, especially with Turpin playing a little bit more now. So with Dak, you might be walking into more stack ownership too. But ultimately, I have a fair amount of both of these. It's an awesome game. Highest total on the board. So I think you want to be playing it regardless.
I think I do too. I'm just having a tough time doing anything outside of just like Dak, CD, Jake, Mr. Jake Ferguson, Fergie Ferg, letting me love you long time. But I do think Turpin is like a way off the board play that I was kind of interested in. I do want to ask you about Jalen Tolbert. Is he somebody that's showing up in your portfolio at all? Because I am shocked I have 0 of him.
I had 0 too. I got a little bit of Turpin. I might X him. I just don't know what the upside is with him. He still hasn't played a lot. You're kind of just banking on him taking another step forward. But I don't know if that's really possible. He is a dwarf on the field, and he's like their main kick return and stuff. It's why he's on the roster. So I don't really understand where we're around the lowest in the industry on Turpin. There's some places that have him like as high as 8 points. I just don't see that. You're projecting a significant jump forward for a guy who's never done that.
Man, yeah, I can't do it. I'm probably gonna just let the Sims do its thing. I was gonna try to I was gonna try to find some way of making him a primary double along with Lamb. I don't think it's really worth it at this point in time. Do have a lot of Dak singles just with Lamb and moving on with my life. I don't completely hate that idea either. Rico Dowdle was going to be an interesting contrarian running back option for me until we got the Eckler news. And now, well, I'm a chalk donkey at running back. Nay, or I don't even know what a donkey says. What is a donkey? It's like, a little bit of that. That's donkey-ish.
Yeah, I think so.
It's all right. I'm 5. Don't mind me. Let's finish out quarterback here. Geno Smith, I think, is crazy popular. I was a little bit frustrated at first, but yeah, Dak Prescott's the guy that's really, really showing up for me in the Sims. But Geno Smith showing up quite a bit here as well, sitting around 14%. Probably I'll trim that down here a little bit as we go along, but there's no more uncomfortable play on today's slate than Daniel Jones. That's who I wanted to get at. Daniel Jones. Who? Daniel Jones. He's been an absolute disaster here for the Giants. That contract does not look very good in hindsight, but he's Duke's finest. He's going to go out there and try to sling it to Malik Neighbors 15 times, and I like Malik Neighbors for tournaments. I think Wan'Dale Robinson, all right for tournaments as well. He's been getting a crazy, crazy target share this season as well. 72, I believe, through 8 games this year. That's a spicy meatball, but God, I don't want to play Daniel Jones. Are you playing Daniel Jones?
I'll have a sprinkling of him. It's just a great game, and I want to place him on the Washington side, especially with the Eckler news that opened up. He just has a really short leash. He could get benched at any point in time. This spread is closer than some of those other contests where he was yanked, but yeah, I mean, that risk is certainly there with him, which you don't like. There's absolutely no chance I'm playing any more than 5%. That will be a hard cap, but I don't think I'll need to. I don't think I'll need to set that. I got 2% the first run. I don't anticipate making a lot of changes today, so that's probably around where I'll settle. He has upside. He can run. It's just the chances he runs for a touchdown might be just as likely as him getting yanked.
A man must have a code. A 5% cap on Daniel Jones sounds like a good code to have. Like,
I don't want 5% on more than 5% on anyone. Daniel Jones or cheaper.
Gardner Minshew.
5% cap.
Good. See, these are the reasons that we bring you on, to give you the hot hitting stuff.
How much Gardner do you have?
Oh, I have like 0. I said 0, flat out 0. I don't have anybody cheap, really. Daniel Jones. And it's funny because I'm usually the one who goes down here and makes a case for like a 1% Daniel Jones. I just don't want to, Matt Kajeski. I don't want to. I don't want to. Derek Carr, I like. New Orleans, we're going to talk about ad nauseum throughout this show. Even maybe a little Tipton in your life if you want to get a little freaky naughty with me. Oh, yeah. We're going to be playing some Mr. Tipton. We'll talk about it. And then we are also just, I guess, one other guy to bring up at the cheap end. Tua Tagovailoa is back. Last year, we saw how much upside he has with +2s, +3s. You have Mostert. They both got there last week for sure. First week right out of the gate. They still lost the football game. Congrats on that one. But Tua Tagovailoa might be 1% or 2% today. I know that we're sitting there with like 3-4% as the projected ownership, but feels like as we start to rerun stuff, I'm getting to a little bit more Jaden Daniels, getting to some more Jalen Hurts, getting to some more of the expensive guys. Some of these guys on the bottom are starting to leak away that I had earlier. I'm doing a side-by-side comparison for the pre-Eckler news. I had 6% Matthew Stafford. I currently have 0. I had 5% Tua Tagovailoa. I currently have 0. I'm starting to see everybody fall by the wayside, and I'm starting to think I should jam in a couple of these guys and make way for them, and then play some more Chase and Lamb. I can definitely use that salary still. Saw somebody bring up King Henry as well. Don't mind that as well. The highest implied total exists on the slate, and a game that they should be dominated and biggest favorites on the slate as well. However, on DraftKings.com, not as advisable as what it would be on FanDuel. I will not be playing FanDuel today, but anybody else on the cheap end that you want to bring up?
Not really on the cheap end. We didn't talk about Burrow much. I'm curious how much you have of him.
So he's been the biggest downgrade out of everybody from before and after. So I'm just sorting this right now. I had 18%. He was my highest owned quarterback. Derek Carr was second, and Lamar Jackson was third. And I'm looking Geno Smith was third, and that's terrifying to say out loud. I don't want to do that. I'm going to cap Geno Smith at 10, probably. A little bit of an advisable thing for me. Yeah, I'm going to get away from that. But Gardner Minshew, don't want to be getting to. He was 0 now at this run. That's just fine by me. Joe Burrow went from 16% to 4%. So 12% downgrade for me. That is a gigantic change. And I think the main thing that's happening is now, instead of just playing 90% Chase Brown like I had before, I've got him in 48% of lineups. I don't want to be removing Kyron Williams, Kamara. Those are two guys that are just staying in my lineups no matter what. So I'm not going to be playing 100% Eckler. He's a jam. I'm north of 50%, but He's not going to be an all-in the way that I've been kind of like Hulk slamming some of these value plays. I think there's too much opportunity cost at the running back position with some of the spend ups, specifically Kamara and Williams, even a little bit of James Conner, Bijan Robinson, guys that I think 6,500 and above. I don't want to play this slate without. So yeah, I'm still going to get to some Burrow, but not nearly as much. Plus, I guess because we don't have Burton, he was somebody I was planning on maybe playing a little bit. Jasicki plus, I mean, are we going to go back to the Oshivas well? Are we really going to do this to ourselves, Matt?
I'm not there yet. I am still figuring out QB. And luckily, we don't do receiver first. But honestly, I am so scarred from last week. And the segue set you up for if Yoshivas has a bad day, I'm going to lose everything. That ended up being true.
Aw, that's not.
I didn't lose everything. That was an exaggeration. A little bit of hyperbole. But
what did it cost? Everything. Do you know that movie?
No.
Fuck. What am I even doing here?
What movie is that?
It's like 100 Marvel movies, but one in particular. It's fine. The Avengers.
Is Batman Marvel? I've seen Batman.
Promo code everything gets you 10% off for life here at Stokastic. If you guys want to check it out, promo code everything, throw it up on the screen. This is a great thing to be locking in for life. If you are somebody who is firing volume in the DFS streets, if you guys are checking everything out on the daily, well, dear Lord Almighty, 10% off forever sounds pretty nifty to me. DFS isn't going anywhere. We've seen a resurgence, I would say, over on FanDuel with some of the overlay contests that they've been rolling out time and time again. On DK, we are seeing massive Millie Maker contests week in, week out. I can't tell you enough how awesome these tools are. And as we innovate, as we add new things, no matter what, you're getting 10% off for life. That is not going anywhere for you. So it's a great thing to be locking in here now and forever with promo code everything. Yeah. Chat may have blown up on you.
I'm not going to look at it for a few minutes then.
It's probably best.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
His Batman Marvel. Like, are you absolutely fucking joking me right now?
No.
To running back we go. Lots of expensive spend ups that you could get to. Luxury items up top, if you ask me at this point in time, but we'll at least talk about them. We'll talk about Joey Chestnut and his hot dog eating contest that he's going to have in Tennessee. We'll talk about the bottom feeders, Jeremy McNichols, if you want to get freaky naughty and a millie, but Derrick Henry, big hoss. He's going to be out there running the rock against Denver. Saquon Barkley, awfully good at football, on the field ad nauseum, and Kyron Williams, where to get it. Williams and Williams, 8,000, the law firm of going up against Seattle. They can't stop anybody from doing anything. I'm also going to throw Kamara in there at 7,800 because he is nifty. He might be, even with this Austin Eckler news, the highest owned running back at the position, currently second behind Chase Brown. But Alvin Kamara, everybody wants to play players against Carolina because Carolina is no good at the footballs, Matt. How are we looking at these spend ups? How are you allocating them in your lineups?
Kamara, number one. I think Kyron, number two at the position. If you want to include him in the spend ups, I think we should. He's, I guess, more expensive than Kamara. So yeah, if we're including Kamara in there, but you can't really go wrong with Kamara. I mean, what doesn't line up for him? The running back position is battered for this team. I think Jordan Mims is probably going to serve as the lead back if that tells you anything about this team, because Kendry Miller's on injured reserve again, Jamal Williams inactive. So he should handle as many touches as he possibly can. The Carolina defense is historically bad. That's not an exaggeration. I don't think it even needs to be said anymore. And there are options. So I don't think Kamara is going to be owned enough. We currently have 30% on him. My dumb brain thought that would be higher. So if it is 30%, which I'm going on, yeah, he's a smash play at this.
It's all right. Your brain really only intakes film and college football.
This is exactly why we have the sim. All this information, my little brain can't handle it.
Tiny little itty bitty baby brain. Oh, you're cute, man. Price Productions, $20. We appreciate you guys. Love seeing the super chats this early on in the show. Obviously, We need to afford Matt some televisions in his home, not just iPads and laptops for watching film. How much does DJ Chark being out increase Lad's ceiling? Sorry if you already covered joining late. DJ Chark hasn't been out there, so it doesn't really change anything. He hasn't played in a game this year.
I think the biggest thing with LA is just their increased pass rate helps Lad. I think Lad was going to be the wide receiver 1, even if Chark did return.
Mm-hmm.
But if anything, it just helps us kind of solidify this. With Chark coming back, there was a sliver of uncertainty. I still thought Lad was clearly going to be the one, but now that's removed. So pretty definitive in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Chark was just going to be like a burner as is anyway. We've seen that in Carolina. We've seen him a number of different places, and you pull up NFL Next Gen stats, and it's just like a straight line. DJ Chark. It's very, very fun to watch, and once in a while he'll absolutely smash. Yeah, the Carolina days, those were wild times. Him and DJ Moore feels like forever ago. But Anthony Davis, $25. He says, "Stop the BS, Matt. Who raised you?" It was an exclamation. I tried to do something exclamatory.
That was good. I like that.
Thank you.
My dad is maybe the biggest football fan I know, as is my brother. I think out of the three of us, I mean, and my poor mother, goodness gracious, she had to raise 3 savages. But
hey, you're 3 boys too? I'm the middle of 3 boys.
Well, it's just me. I included my dad, my dad, and my brother. I think I think they're bigger football fans than I am, which is crazy to say.
That is insane. But I also know that your brother went to the great Augustana College, which is where my little brother went. Both of my parents went. So Augustana College, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, friends, beautiful university, and Matt has frequented it. And somehow also is a Notre Dame fan for whatever God knows what
reason. My grandpa went there.
Oh, that's important. Okay. Shout out your grandpa. Hope he's doing well.
He's dead now, but he instilled the Notre Dame fandom in me young. In his memory.
I don't know where to go from here. So we're going to go down the board. Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Kenneth Walker, James Cook, J.K. Dobbins. We got some 7K luxury items. I really don't know what to do other than play Bijan Robinson in a game environment in Atlanta and Dallas, where through the passing game, through the running game, Bijan Robinson should still get a large workload despite the existence of Tyler Algier. And Kenneth Walker, of course. Kenneth Walker, this is your life. That's a Ben Folds one for the people. Kenneth Walker has been running so damn hot in terms of touchdowns, but it's the Rams on the other side. This is a game environment I thought that I would be stacking up. I have no idea what to do with the wide receivers there. We'll get to that. I'm going to look in hindsight, and if Kupp puts up 30 and I don't have him, I'm never going to forgive myself. If Nakua plays more than 50% of snaps, period, I'm never going to forgive myself for not being over the field on Nakua. But Kenneth Walker feels like the guy in this game environment. We've seen him get it done in the passing game too against Detroit. I mean, lots of ways that Kenneth Walker can get there, specifically through touchdowns, though. How are we feeling about any 7K plays? Because I have none besides Kamara and Bijan Robinson right now.
Those are the guys I have by far the most of, and it's mostly Kamara, to be honest with you. Bijan is second, but a pretty distant second. From there, it is just sprinklings of these guys, and I'm a little worried about this. I think if I get buried by any player on this slate, it's going to be one of these 7K running backs, because James Cook is in here. He's coming off a week where he literally just did this to people. And then, I mean, you have Kenneth Walker as well. I don't know. He is running hot on touchdowns, but his role is so good. And then in the pass game too, that I don't know if it matters. Say he runs cold on this. They're not using Charbonnet as much as I thought they would. So he can still get there even if he doesn't have the crazy run hot with touchdowns. We didn't even mention the other 8K backs. We're in the 7K range now, but Saquon's on this slate.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's on this slate.
Yeah.
I'm sprinkling those two, but we're talking under 5% of both. So I mean, this is danger zone for me, the area where you could very easily see yourself getting buried. But at the end of the day, I don't want to change it. My lineups project so much better when I put in some combination of one expensive back, whether it's Kyron or Kamara. I think they're the two best. But then getting Chase Brown and Eckler, your lineups look so much better because you can upgrade at QB if you want. That's Lamar. You can upgrade at receiver. So in addition to like CeeDee Lamb, that could be Jamar Chase. You don't necessarily have to play a dusty tight end. So I'm going to leave this, but I think it's the riskiest position in my portfolio.
All right, let's get down into the nitty gritty. Sub 7K, this is where my entire life lives. This is how the other half lives, outside of Kyron Williams, of course, who I'm jamming, Alvin Kamara, who I'm playing a lot of here. I don't know how we don't like Devon Achane here as basically the wide receiver 2 for Miami up against Buffalo. I don't know how we don't like James Conner at 6,600 going up against the Bears rushing defense that 114 or 112 per game. I can't remember off the top of my head. I heard it on a show earlier this week, and I don't even remember which one. But James Conner, oh, it was Laffy. Laffy brought it up. James Conner, 6,600 for him going up against the Bears D. I think that's pretty darn serviceable. DeAndre Swift on the other side of that game. It's Arizona there. They're projected around 16, 17 as well. So before we get into the Chase Brown, Austin Eckler jam discussion, 6K range. Lots of different options. Anybody a priority, though, at this point?
I think the 2 priorities for me are going to be James Conner and Devon Achane. I'm not sure we're seeing enough ownership on him. And I think now it's largely the product of just having so many good plays. But the timeshare hasn't really mattered for him. You were on him more last week than I was. I was definitely scared off by that timeshare. And Mostert still had a touchdown. Yep. But the pass game role the pass game role is still so good for Devon Achane. He's in there in high leverage situations. I mean, at what point do we just need to talk about this guy's explosive ability, and it hasn't really mattered if he has the full workload in this backfield. So I think he's someone we can look to. Other than that, I'm a little nervous with some of the other guys in this range, but sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say teams have kind of just been able to bottle them up when you have Huntley out there playing quarterback, when you have Skylar Thompson out there playing quarterback. You can't really do it with Tua, and I'm not the biggest Tua stan at all. I don't think he's that good, but I think he is capable of pushing the ball downfield in McDaniel's offense. And, McDaniel is a pretty good play caller, despite what we've seen here in recent weeks. I don't think the greatest game manager. Hopefully somebody else is in charge of that one here, because, man, did they make some mistakes in that Arizona game at times. But Tua Tagovailoa, with him at the helm, I feel so much better about Devon Achane. I always will. He's just one of those guys that you give him a little bit of space, and we haven't even seen like that 85-yarder to the house that I feel like was commonplace once he became a thing like week 2, 3 last year. I mean, it became every single time you look at your phone, the first alert, oh yeah, Devon Achane just took it to the house. We're going to see those alerts again, I think, sooner rather than later. Buffalo, not the best spot to be seeing such alerts, but I still think you want to be overweight to him in a number of these different type of spots. James Conner's the interesting one to me. The most issue that I have, like, now we just have these 2 guys sub 6K that we want to get to. And Chase Brown, I mean, I don't see how he doesn't get nearly 100% of the workload there in Cincy today. Obviously, there's always a chance somebody else mixes in a little bit, but I feel so much better about Chase Brown than I do just about any other running back on this slate, outside of Austin Eckler, of course. And Devon Achane is just much more expensive, even at 6,700. James Conner is just much more expensive at 6,600. And Trey Benson, I know he hasn't been a thing really as much as anticipated, but there are some game scripts where if they get behind, I'm very curious to see how James Conner's workload is affected, because I think Benson's kind of good out of the great college of
Florida State.
There you go. Trey Benson was pretty darn good there. Anything else at the 6K range? I really don't have anything.
No, I don't think so. I do like Swift, and now that I'm looking at this, I have a fair amount of him. It's nothing crazy. That Chicago game is really interesting. We didn't talk about Caleb Williams either. I'm going to try to be somewhat over the field on that, and Swift is the biggest part of those games. And on the other side, James Conner, I don't know if Benson's as much of a threat as you think he is. They have used a lot of weird dusty backs over Trey Benson this year. And
DeMercado and all the other dudes, yeah.
Yeah, you know where DeMercado went to school?
Absolutely not.
TCU.
But they had a great title game against Georgia.
That was atrocious.
It was maybe the worst football game ever. LA. I was going to go, and then I just went on living my life because I recognized the murder that was about to ensue. Yeah, I was say, Q, I know he's seen some actual upside here in his sophomore year, but Quentin Johnston, I mean, that was like the beginning of the turmoil for him. He ends up getting drafted to the team where he has to then go to SoFi for work every single day, and he just continued sucking Matt Gajewski.
Yeah, I mean, he's caught a couple touchdowns this year, but I don't know if he's really been that impressive. Yeah, you've been impressed with him?
No, he basically can't separate, and that seems bad. Can't get open. It's important to get open in the NFL, but it's also important at the running back position to get to Chase Brown. It's important to get to Austin Eckler. I don't even really know how to start the conversation here in terms of tournaments and how you should be allocating them relative to some of the spend ups I talked about. All I know is that if you get CD Lamb ceiling or Jamar Chase ceiling, and you get serviceable like 14, 15, 16 from these two running backs and Chase Brown and Austin Eckler, I don't see how that isn't looking really, really optimal really, really quickly. Now, to win a milli, you're going to need to have all the pieces align, all the things fit. You can still have a failure. We saw that last week where there can definitely be somebody who goes out and puts up a dud in your lineup. Chuba Hubbard is the run back for the Bo Nix single for the sub that won here from Stokastic last week. But I feel pretty darn good about Chase Brown currently in, let me see this last run so I don't lie and just make up a number. I have him in 61% of lineups. I am playing 250 lineups. So yeah, 61% of him there. And then Austin Eckler, I have in 68. So I'm pretty happy with those allocations. I'm giving a little bit of way for Alvin Kamara, for Devon Achane, for some of the other upside backs. But first two guys in cash today, Chase Brown, Austin Eckler. Tell me otherwise, Matt.
No.
Okay, then don't do that because that would be the
I think you're right. That's what I would do too. I can't lie to you.
Yeah, you have to. Those are your first two clicks in cash. You're probably clicking Mike Gesicki, and then you're filling in the rest of the lineup however it falls. I've got mine over here. Again, Ela D4. Would love to see you guys all there. What percent up to first are you guys using for the Sims tool from Jamal Parker? Well, I absolutely love that question. I repeat, promo code Millie, 30% off here right now. But use it for whichever contest you're simming for. And now we have the entry manager where you can kind of on DraftKings be able to bracket it up. Actually works pretty decent on FanDuel. I was screwing around with that the other day as well in the NBA streets. But right now, when you look at the main $3 that I know most people are in, that's going to be 10% to first. If the number is, $50,000, I'm just saying, for example, if it's $50,000 to first and it's a $500,000 contest, well, that's 10% to first. If it's the milli, the $20 milli, usually that's like $1 million to first, 333. Well, that's going to be up there in the 35 percentile. So I believe the highest that our sim is going to go here at the moment for it. Let me double check here is, yeah, we can go up to 35. We go up to 40% being the highest number that you can get to. And that's going to be for some people who are maybe looking at some small field stuff to potentially really, really ratchet it up. Obviously, just take whatever the big number is, divide it out by however much is going to first, and you've got your percent to first. So check that out, Jamal Parker. Hopefully that helps you. Anything to add to that, Matt?
I don't really have anything to add. I just literally go to the contest and see what first place is divided by the entire prize pool and use what it is.
Yep. That's why I said that.
You did a great math lesson.
Thank you. I know 10%. I deserve a medal today. Really. I'm truly elite. Truly elite. Hit the like button for me. Go me. I just hit the like button myself. I hadn't done that yet.
Good job atoning for your sins.
It's not my bit. That's not my bit. We are at 30 minutes to go, though. 30 minutes left in the period till we get to lock. We got a lot to cover here at the wide receiver position as well, but rounding it out at running back, I got some dust. I got some absolute dust down here. Hi, Jeremy McNichols. Hi, Jeremy Chestnut. I don't know what to tell you. Tony Pollard, I felt so good about him in tournaments going up against New England. I mean, Breece Hall was just, infinity percent owned as a bell cow back? For all intents and purposes, if Tony Pollard is all right, I would love him for tournaments today if we didn't have Chase Brown and Austin Eckler. As such, I'm just going to bet his anytime touchdown and move along living my life. I think you should too, for what it's worth. But Chestnut is 4K, and then we have McNichols at 4K. You want to do something really, really insane and potentially Tony Pollard stinged up or Austin Eckler? I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Austin Eckler played passing downs and, mixed in for a majority of stuff. But then McNichols, we've seen him get goal line work. We've seen him snipe touchdowns from Brian Robinson this season. We just haven't seen Washington go completely nutty like we had earlier in the year as well. I think recency bias may be kicking in a little bit. And at flat 4K, I'm not saying that you should do it in a majority of your lineups. I'm not even saying you should do it in like 5% of your lineups, but in a lineup or two out of your 150 portfolio, if you want to get to McNichols, if you want to get to Mr. Joey Chestnut and gobble some hot dogs, I know my guy over there, Matt Kajeski, likes himself a hot dog or two as well. We can fire both of them up here. Anything else at running back?
I love hot dogs. We didn't really talk about Tyrone Tracy much. I think he's very interesting. People are a little scared of him, it seems, because of the concussion. which I was surprised he's playing today. It was a short week, but he's still past protocol. I mean, he had 20 touches in the last game. They've completely iced Devin Singletary at this point. I still think you can use him. Obviously, he's right in the same price range as two way better plays than Eckler and Brown. But he's someone I think you could look to as a pivot if you want to. Otherwise, I think that's about it for running back. I have a sprinkling of Josh Jacobs. We didn't really mention him. But that's about it.
Dude, you're so efficient. You're so awesome to have on the show. Hit the like button, everybody. Hit the like button. Also, if you guys are looking to get a little bit of sports betting in your life, Tails, that is where you can find me and my lovely pick'em cards and all of my bets and everything else. Matt Kajeski, the exact same for him as well. Check out Tails. And we have a way, both at Tails and at Stokastic, both of them here, where you can get yourself 1 month of either of those completely free, or a month of the Sims tool here at Stokastic completely free, just by checking out one of our partners that pop up here on the screen from Mr. Jordan Klein. That would be awesome. You guys can sign up, take advantage of everything that we have here. Pick them on the left side of the screen. You have Sportsbooks on the right side of your screen. Underdog, Vivid. If you haven't signed up in any of these, Pick 6, do so. Take advantage of these massive offers. Right now at Pick 6, use promo code Lindy, $5. You bet $5 on anything, you get $50 in Pick 6 credits. That is an awesome, easy opportunity for you to get 45 extra bucks there. 50 total extra bucks. But yeah, some really nice equity there over at Pick 6. And then you get the Sims tool completely free. So I'd love for you to take advantage of promo code MIL. I'd love you to take advantage of promo code everything, where you're here forever hanging out with us, but completely free for a month. All you have to do is follow the 4 simple steps that pop up here on your screen. You're basically taking a screenshot saying, hey, I did this, and you're emailing it over to Stokastic, support@stokastic.com. Everything directly there on your screen. So take a screenshot of it. Hey, I need to do these 4 steps. Sign up, use the deposit code, take screenshots of my first settle bet, and then support@stokastic.com. Fire it up, and you'll get 1 month of the Sims tool completely free. Take advantage. BetMGM, Caesars. You want to be signed up at all these books. You need to be signed up at all these books, so you're always taking advantage of the best price. And then in the pick'em streets, it's the exact same thing, whether it's better, sleeper, I don't care. Always get yourself the best opportunity to make the most money. Simple as that. And hey, get the Sims tool for free along the way. 26 minutes? Yeah, you could sign up, take advantage of that right now, and utilize the Sims the rest of the way. It would be awesome to have you guys there. Thanksgiving, by the way, too. We've got some slates coming up here in the near future. Are we going to be hanging out on Thanksgiving together, Matt Kajeski?
Do we do live before lock, me and you? I always do the Thanksgiving show, but I can't remember which one I was on last year.
Always. You and me, baby. We ain't nothing but mammals, so let's do it like we do on the Discovery Channel. Wait, what? Oh, thank you very much. It's only for 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER, 18 or over, in the great state of Kentucky. Alrighty, let's continue on our merry way to the wide receiver position. 26 minutes. We got plenty of time. CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase seem like good plays, Matt.
Yeah, they're 2 of my top 4 most owned receivers.
Yep.
This is circling back to the Eckler discussion. They jumped a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, to get into like matchup stuff, Cincinnati's playing
Do we
Vegas.
have time for matchup stuff? Do we even have time for that? We've had so much to do on this show.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati's playing Vegas and Dallas is playing Atlanta, which a little bit harder, but not all that much. 2 absolute target alphas. Now you have the money to get to them both. And this is my preferred path. So we don't have to mess around with as many dusty receivers. You can play 2 elite projected running backs in the 5K range. This is just a no-brainer to me. It really, the only thing I think you could say is, would you rather fade them and maybe play a 6K receiver, because there's a couple of those that are awesome, and then take a leverage stand, maybe with like a Tyreek Hill or someone else even lower owned, but I'm not sure I want to do that. Right now, that's not going to be my preferred path.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here with anything other than CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase. Looking at A.J. Brown, I was going to jam him today. I think he's going to smash Jacksonville, but I mean, CeeDee Lamb, it's like a possession thing. It's the same thing we'll talk about with Drake London as we work down the board. I just don't know how I get away from guys who I'm projecting for double-digit targets compared to an A.J. Brown or compared to other guys scattered amongst the range. Like in tournaments, we want to be mixing them into our portfolio, but I can't play A.J. Brown here at this kind of level of ownership when I can get to CeeDee Lamb, who's currently projected for what, 15% ownership? That's just asinine to me.
Dude, I agree with you. I don't have hardly any AJ Brown right now. This stack is so expensive.
They are. But again, I'm going to make way for it here as I finish out my final run of the Sims. 7K range, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I heard the weather's bad, Matt.
Yep. Everyone is continuing to say that. That's not why I don't have a lot of interest in this game. It's mainly on the Jordan Love side. The health is the biggest concern for me with him. We just don't know how he's going to hold up with the groin. And that's a lot of risk, in my opinion, for a receiving core that's already using 4 guys, a backfield that's increasingly using 2 backs. Jacobs does not have the role we thought he did. So even if you're playing like a Detroit guy, we're playing tournaments largely, you'd want to consider a Green Bay run back. Green Bay being so volatile kind of dampens Detroit a little bit too. Without Jameson, there's some uncertainty in the target pecking order. They're always using 2 backs. They love to run the ball, so Goff needs to get there on efficiency, not volume. There's just a lot of concerns that have nothing to do with the weather. And as I've looked into this more, this is a game that's come down 3 points in the total. It started at 50.5. I thought it was going to be the best game on the entire board to target. And even with the weather coming down, let's just say it's more mild than you think, there could be a potential edge there by playing some of these guys. You just are walking into so many potential injuries and volatile rotations, and I'm not sure I want to do it.
I'm not sure I do either. It's pretty brutal. It's a pretty brutal spot for sure. I am probably with you there as well. Finishing it out. Here's what I don't know what to do, because on a scale of 1 to 5,695,372, how big of a liar is Sean McVay?
Oh, does he ever tell the truth?
So yeah, like he's in the 80 million range in the telling the truth percentile. This is just like staring at me in the face for tournaments. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. What do we do with these two on today's slate, knowing what we know about McVay being a liar?
I think you play a little bit of them.
Yeah. But which one?
Both.
How
Sprinkle
much?
them both. Under 10% for sure. That's where I am right now. I need to fix some things, but
all I know is that if Puka Nacua can barely play, like we saw when he went up against, I think it was Detroit that they played, where he looked really, really dinged up. If we see Puka Nacua struggle to get out on the field, and you aren't overweight to Cooper Kupp, especially in the afternoon slate, you're just screwed, right? You're just screwed.
At full strength, they're both elite plays. The second you remove one of them, they become an absolute utter smash. Even when they're both healthy, you're looking at 60% of the targets being soaked up between these two players. With Kupp specifically, you do have that out, which is probably enough to put him slightly ahead of Nacua.
Exactly.
So I agree with you there, but I want some Puka Nacua too. We just went through this literally a week ago, where people didn't want to play him because he was supposed to be in a snap count, and he absolutely decimated. He's an awesome player. So I'm not going to just go blindly zero Puka Nacua, but I'm not going to be overexposed either.
One major difference between those, between that and this, that was a showdown slate where, there were how many guys in the range that you had to beat. Now, for me, it's just I'm boosting Cooper Kupp, and I just wanted to explain my rationale for the most part. I didn't mean to lead the witness there, but if there is any limitations to Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp is an absolute smash. Now, I don't think we have to focus in on Colby Parkinson, Demarcus Robinson the way we might on a smaller slate, but I am very much here for getting to more Cooper Kupp. I have 18% Cooper Kupp right now. I can move that around. I will be swapping. It can end up a little bit more. It could end up a little bit less, but I'm at least going to take the shots on it there, because Nakua's ownership, like 7,200, yeah, he's cheaper, so I guess he could fit into lineups somewhat easier. But like, if there's any limitations, I think the upside for Kupp is just so much higher than like Nacua, who's still playing next to a healthy Cooper Kupp.
We agree there.
Okay, that's all I really wanted to get to. 6K range, Drake London. I think both of the Seattle guys, specifically Jackson Smith and Jigba, I'm going to be going to again this week. I know it did not go well last week, but you know what? Completely different situation, taking on a Rams team that hopefully can bring the points as well. I'm going to be getting to a little bit of them. 6K range, Devonta Smith exists as well. If you want to get a little freaky naughty with Kellen Moore and his slot receivers, that seems like an all right way to do things. Who do you like here?
You mentioned all the best ones in that range. This is a pretty healthy range overall, and I had more of it before we got the Eckler news. But I still think you could get here if you want to maybe pay up a running back or something like that. You mentioned, I think, the best plays. I'm a little less interested in Seattle than you are. And I think that goes all the way to Geno. They lost their best receiver. And I'm not really sure it's particularly close right now. Lockett appears to have taken a step back. JSN has never really played well, and people still want to strong arm him into the first round draft pick that he was. I'll need to see it to believe it. I'm not saying he can't do it. He just, like, has he ever really had a good game or an elite game? I'm still waiting on it. I think people are still living on the memory of his Ohio State Utah game where he diced up a running back who had to play corner. We'll see on him. As far as pivots in this range, Drake London, he's not really a pivot. He's owned. He's my favorite. I'm just going to walk into the chalk there. Same thing with Olave, with Derek Carr back, which is another reason I am just a little lower to the Seattle guys. Kind of just eating chalk at receiver and paying up at this point.
Okay, well, let's find some mid-range wide receivers for the people. Xavier Legette is going to be playing football today. That's a little surprising to me. You know who isn't? Deontay Johnson on the Carolina Panthers, as he will be playing, 10 to 15 snaps, I saw was the number up against Baltimore. Don't play Deontay Johnson today. If you win somebody $1 million, congratulations. It was still a terrible play no matter what. And then what was the other part of this one? Oh, yeah. Adam Thielen, still going to be on the IR. Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker are going to be conversation pieces. But amongst the punts, I'm going to rotate through a number of guys here, sub 6K, that we can just go to. Ladd McConkey, he makes all the sense in all the land. I know that there are people like myself that were a little bit frustrated that he ended up way lower than everybody's projected ownership across the industry against Cleveland. Will that continue here? Coming off of a smash? I don't know, but we have enough other places that we can put that money. Cortland Sutton as a run back potentially to some Baltimore, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews type stacks. We've got Roma Dunze there for Chicago, one day maybe. Keenan Allen, one day maybe. Noah Brown at a 4K, but of course, the chalk of all chalk is going to be Cedric Tillman. I really like Elijah Moore as just $100 cheaper, where you're going to trim a major amount of that ownership. I think Elijah Moore and Jerry Jeudy, two of my favorite tournament plays here. I'm going to be getting to a little bit more of them. I think Cedric Tillman's a good play, and the Sims definitely are echoing that sentiment based off the last couple of weeks and his current projection. However, depending on what tournaments you're playing in, he could end up crazy high owned against a Chargers team that isn't exactly a nothing on the defensive end. And I just kind of want to mix in a little bit more of the other guys here for Jameis Winston today. Anything that you want to talk about here, sub 5K, as we get ourselves over to tight end?
I agree with you. Tillman, he's an excellent play just based on the 2-game sample. But Elijah Moore led the team in first read targets in their last contest. We'll see on how this shakes out with a small sample throughout the year. But I think at this point, we can put Jeudy pretty clearly third. I'm going to be slightly underweight to Tillman, slightly overweight to Elijah Moore for basically every reason you mentioned. And as far as other players like in this 4K range, I have a little bit of Quentin Johnston. I don't really see myself getting here a lot, though. We kind of just talked about the guys I want to get to. None of them really stand out aside from the Cleveland guys. So instead of sprinkling some really dusty players like Demario Douglas or something, I'd rather just go all the way down. Give me the 3K range over this 4K range if you're not talking about a Cleveland guy.
Yep, I'm with you. Anybody from chat want to throw anybody in? No, chalky tight ends, you're talking. Oh, yeah, we got a lot of things. Tipton pivot. Oh, yeah. I wanted to bring up my guy, Mr. Tipton. Chris Olave. He had a couple of quiet games there alongside Derek Carr to start off the season. He's been dinged up. There's been very little sample size for him over the course of this year. You go back to previous years. Chris Olave, confirmed, probably a better wide receiver from Ohio State than Jackson Smith and Jigba, in your opinion, Matt?
Probably. He's been disappointing too, man.
Yeah. It's weird because quarterbacks were the things that never showed up from Ohio State. So of course, CJ Stroud ends up being good and making me look like a donkey, but whatever. It is what it is. Wide receiver position. You've got him cheaper at Chris Olave. He's he's an important piece of lineups here as well today. Don't want to just gloss over it, but I like getting to a little bit of Mr. Tipton just to flip it a little bit, where Mason Tipton had a little bit of rapport back and forth with some of the Spencer Strider and everybody else coming out there. This is different with Carr, but with no Rashid Shaheed out there, Mason Tipton is going to be on the field enough for me to at least take some shots at a 4K number.
I think I'm going to come in with 0.
That's great. I love hearing that. To the tight end position we go. I repeat, smash the like button. We would love if you would do such things, because Matt and I, we are giving up some of our equity as we are building, reacting to news. Yes, that's something that happened today. we are happy to do it because we love having you guys here over in the Stokastic streets. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button as well. If you guys want to come kick it and take in our content where, once in a while I have to do foot and mouth because I say stupid things. But, overall, doing okay. Probably will never ask Matt about his grandpa ever again, though. Let's go to the tight end position. To the top of the range, let's see. Yeah, I'm not really getting to Brock Bowers anymore, which is weird. I want to get to Brock Bowers. He's a wagon, right? He's a confirmed wagon.
He is a wagon.
Okay. Trey McBride is kind of a wagon against Chicago. Short underneath patterns. Let's go. David Njoku, he's got a quarterback now. That seems useful. And Evan Ingram, I love for tournaments. However, Brian Thomas Jr., somebody that I'm not really getting to as a run back for some of those Philly stacks. Evan Ingram ends up being the guy a little bit more. Maybe we see no issues in terms of snap count for Brian Thomas, but I was kind of coming into this slate thinking I was going to jam Evan Ingram. I am not. I'm definitely going to be spread out at the top here. Dalton Kincaid looks a little bit better. Anybody you want to be spending up at before we talk about the dusty punts, including Mike Gesicki, who is mega chalk at the moment?
Yeah, I got so much of him even in the Sims that these guys are basically all just sprinklings. I think I have a little more Brock Bowers interest than you, but at this point, Gesicki just projects so well for the price. I don't think outside of stacks, I'm really going to be playing anyone. Njoku would be my favorite. He legitimately just might be the pass catcher #1 for this team. McBride's, I think, behind Marvin Harrison most weeks, so you don't have quite as much upside, I think. Bowers, he basically functions as the same player that Njoku does in an offense that's terrible. But he's only had 1 touchdown this year, if I'm not mistaken, and that should increase. And then Evan Ingram, he would be the main beneficiary of the Christian Kirk injured reserve. Those are the ones I'm trying to sprinkle up at the top. I have a little bit of Kincaid now that Amari's out, but I don't see anyone here in my portfolio that's over 4%.
Is this the part where we have the AJ Barner conversation then?
I have a ton of AJ Barner. I have a ton of Mike Gesicki. It's just kind of comes down to the tight ends at the top aren't worth paying for. They're still touchdown dependent assets unless they're in a stack or something. Like most weeks, it just hasn't worked out this year. And I don't really know what would change this year. I mean, their target shares aren't what we thought they would be for most of them. Laporta, Trey McBride, Kincaid, not seeing the targets we thought. Njoku, maybe that changes because they lost Amari and they've made a QB change. So there's some uncertainty there. Bowers has seen it most of the time, but their offense is so inept, they don't score any points. Ingram is another one you could maybe make the argument for with Kirk being out, but we just haven't seen it. So, I mean, it's not like they're running bad. There's literally almost no data to suggest these guys are good plays. All there is uncertainty with a couple of them.
Yeah, I'm getting a bad feeling from Jacksonville where they're going to mix in Travis Etienne more than they should just from a passing game perspective. Getting Tank Bigsby out the field, they should just run the ball. They should just put Tank back there and do it over and over and over again, but they're going to throw it. And Trevor Lawrence is going to continue looking like Trevor Lawrence on the road, or I guess Trevor Lawrence at home too isn't exactly something thrilling at the moment, but Evan Ingram going to be the main way that I try to get some of those run backs to work. I just think AJ Barner, just kind of come back to that one for one quick second. There's not a lot of times we've had like a nice looking decent punt sub 3K. And if you're trying to get all of the upside of like a Chase, of a Lamb, and then maybe a Kamara even in that lineup specifically, Barner at 2,600 is on the field enough here where I think we're set to go. Glazer, they just said Puka Nacua is a, quote, full go. Again, don't believe anything that you read when it's McVay. Just a damn dirty liar. But AJ Barner in that game, 2,600. I think that's, if I'm trying to get away from Gesicki, I'm probably going cheaper, which is an insane thing to say.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think that's probably the way you want to play it.
Yeah, but I'm playing a lot of Gesicki, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm not. Just simply taking some nice tournament shots. Some Lucas Kroll, that's showing up in my life. I don't know why, but I want to justify ripping someone's head off. That's all I got for you, Matt.
I'm playing a lot of Barner, a lot of Gesicki, price-wise. No one else above 10%. Some Disley, some Ertz, some Ferguson, some Henry, most of them the cheap guys. Some Taysom, he's one I think is potentially sneaky. Yeah, man, it's pretty dicey out here.
Nathan Choice, our guy Nathan in the chat wants to know, any Cole Kmet in your life? I can't do it.
Not a lot, sprinkling here and there.
yeah, probably more of an afternoon slate thing for me if I'm going to get to any there. Because yeah, afternoon slate doesn't have to deal with Gesicki and company, so that'll be fun. But yeah, Mike Gesicki, very clearly going to be the tight end cash game option for the people keeping track at home. All right, we got 9 minutes. We're gonna probably round it out like a minute or two early, like we always do. I have to make sure that my sheet is intact. It is. This is good. I'm excited, and I know you're excited to talk about defense for the people before we get ourselves the heck up out of here. Make sure, do we have any other super chats? I think I got to everything. Oh, Price Productions, another 20 spot from him, of course. Do you manually adjust projections for players in bad weather spots projected at game time, or do the projections already account for it? The second part of that one, the latter, if you will.
Projections do account for it, yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't think too much about it. It would have to be monumentally horrific to not have a little bit that would show up there in the afternoon slate. I just ran some afternoon slate stuff here in the background so that I'm not a liar. Here we are. And yeah, I'm still going to get to like some smattering of that game, like Jaden Reed, David Montgomery. I think if like bad weather game, give me David Montgomery every time. Iowa State wagon David Montgomery.
They've had a lot of those, especially at running back. Brees Hall.
Not yesterday.
Well, yeah. Tough scene.
I don't even want to talk about it.
I'm sorry, buddy.
It's okay. Let's talk about defense. That's way more fun. There are some options. We've got some punts that I think make some sense this week. The Giants at 2,300 going up against Washington. Sounds disgusting, but they've been serviceable there at times. I think 2,600, you got the Cardinals. They're going to be mega chalk, I think, for cash. I think that's fine. I'm actually going to go Giants for cash so that I can play Lamb, Olave, Tillman at the wide receiver position, and then I can go Kamara, Brown, Eckler. I think that's really the only path I have to it. I don't care about playing my defense up against a running back in cash. Never something that I'm going to care about, but they're a punt. They make sense. However, I think Tennessee going up against New England, Drake May going to be out there throwing the football, it sounds like, correct? And that's going to be an improvement over Jacoby Brissett. But yeah, Tennessee's got a really nice defense. They still don't have to deal with that Will Levis character who can't play football. It's going to be Mason Rudolph out there for them. So I have optimism they won't leave him in some catastrophic turnovers for Mason Rudolph. But I am here for the Tennessee Titans. I think most people are. Who are the defenses you are landing on the most for tournaments, Matt?
The tournament defenses, let's see. Put my CSV in. Sorry, guys.
You're just fine.
Giants, Cardinals, Titans. They're a ton of them. Over 20% all three. No one else above 5.
Giants, Cardinals, Titans. I think that's a good combination that you just listed off there. Giants, Cardinals, Titans. Yeah, those are the 3. Those are the same 3 for me. So, and we haven't had that necessarily. If you're trying to get different, I don't hate the idea of the Cowboys, which sounds absolutely insane. But Kirk Cousins, the amount of times that he's going to be throwing it potentially, I mean, Atlanta should try to run the football there a little bit, but I think Dallas, I mean, this is still a talented defense with pieces. They've been horrible this year. Don't get me wrong, but like you look at the specific pieces that are on the Dallas side of the ball, they have to be better. And Coach Zimmer over there, defensive coordinator, formerly of my Minnesota Vikings, I really don't like him, but there's enough talent there where stuff can happen. And with the amount Kirk Cousins has been dropping back, I'm willing to take some shots on it. So if you want to get really, really freaky naughty, that's a good way to do it. I think the Sims tool really echoing that. My 2 top projected lineups right now, having Cowboys defense. What a time to be alive.
Really?
Simulated ROI, yeah.
My top 2 are the Chargers and the Cardinals.
I double check this. Cowboys. Yeah, I got Cowboys. That's going to be fun.
That's just the top 2. Like, don't listen to me.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on one second. I actually made a mistake. Copy that over wrong. I'm such a dipshit. Hold, please.
That'll happen sometimes.
Oh, great. This is great. This is just great. I uploaded the wrong sheet.
How much time do you need?
None. I'm an adult who has done this before. I unfortunately am not going to be able to get. Okay, in the $1, I'm going to have a lineup with Gardner Minshew. That just is what it is. I'm not a liar. I have one lineup with Gardner Minshew. If it wins everything, I apologize ahead of time because yes, I planned on having 0%. I have one lineup with him, but it is what it is. Cardinals defense, 100%. Have no problem with that. If you want to be going that direction, that sounds just fine with me. But We got 3 minutes left. Hit the like button, everybody. Matt and I are going to get ourselves the heck up out of here. I got to go because I screwed this up very, very badly. I need to fix this or I'm going to be sad. I'm going to have an upside down frown forever, which again is a Joker thing. They are DC Comics. That is not the Marvel Universe. But anywho, Matt Gajeski. Go follow him at Matt_Gajeski. Any final words for the people as we get out of here?
Yeah, thank you guys for watching and hanging out with us every Sunday. This was a bit of a hectic one on the back end, but all the tools are updated. Make sure you use them throughout the day. Any late swap needs you have. But otherwise, yeah, it's just a big thank you. Appreciate you all being here.
That was perfectly said. It was so eloquent and beautiful. And I have no notes. So we're going to get ourselves the heck up out of here. Smash the like button as you go along. We've got tons of content coming up later in the day, of course, specifically the Showdown slate. Check that out. We got our guy, Matt Bellman. They'll be bringing you guys all of the coverage, all of the goodies for Sunday Night Football. My Minnesota Vikings taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Thank you, Jordan Klein, behind the virtual glass. 4 hours. Another one in the books. We'll see you guys here. Same place, same time next week.